A tense silence filled the room, heavy with unspoken words. The walls seemed to close in, shadows cast sharply by the single overhead light. There was nowhere to hide from the gaze of the man sitting quietly across the table. Wide windows revealed a view of the lush green landscape outside, contrasting starkly with the dark, worn leather seats and the worn-out drums waiting to be turned inside. Vladimir Zelensky entered the scene, moving swiftly, almost too swiftly, as if every second counted in the looming confrontation. His expensive jacket only emphasized the stark reality: appearances often hide exhaustion. His face bore the weight of sleepless nights, sunken eyes betrayed nights of worry, lips slightly swollen from clenched nerves. His gaze was guarded, cautious as a seasoned fighter expecting blows at any moment. He positioned himself without eye contact, yet every gesture radiated a mixture of challenge, hope, and disbelief, feelings churning within him like a storm. These emotions, he hadn't been able to contain, and now they flickered in his eyes. For a few tense seconds, silence reigned, an almost suffocating pause. Trumps, the figure across from him, remained impassive. He didn't flip through documents, didn't check figures, simply observed. It was as if he was giving Zelensky a chance to escape, a moment of choice. Zelensky, sensing the weight of the silence, broke the quiet first. His voice rang out, sharp and decisive, louder than expected, slicing through the stillness of the hall. "We're facing interference again," he declared straight away. "Russia is meddling in our internal affairs. They don't want peace. They're stalling, delaying time. They threaten not just us but all of Europe." Each word was spoken quickly, almost breathlessly, as if the next phrase depended on urgency. He seemed afraid that hesitation might weaken his position. The signs were clear: the maneuvers, the subtle signals, the underlying logic. Trump showed no emotion. His face remained unmoved, impassive. "We don't need flowery speeches," he retorted calmly. "Zelensky, you're already holding your ground. We don't need 20 different plans. What we need are resources. Money. Support. Because, with backing, we can still win this." He paused an almost imperceptible second, waiting for a reaction that didn't come. Zelensky quickly pressed on, his voice rising with conviction. "We've already proven we can hold out. But without additional support, our chances diminish. It's not just about wanting victory, it's about pure numbers. If the West pulls back support now, Russia will believe they've won." His words hung in the air, charged with urgency. The room remained tense, every second feeling like a weight on his shoulders. Silence stretched anew, only broken by the faint hum of the distant city outside. Inside, adrenaline surged. Every word was a gamble. Could this moment turn the tide? Could this conversation shatter the silence that threatened to crush hope? The stakes had never been higher. 5 minutes ago, everyone watching was stunned. In Florida, an event unfolded that no one expected. Donald Trump, in a rare move, closed the door on journalists during a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, and then, in an instant, the deep cracks in global politics surfaced. Accusations of corruption, hidden agendas, and elite secrets flooded the headlines. The maneuvers behind closed doors reveal a game nobody saw coming. Imagine the tension filling the room, the air thick with unspoken threats. Trump enters like he owns the space, exuding calm confidence, as if the room is his territory long claimed. His steps are deliberate, every movement measured, a silent assertion of power that commands attention even without a word. His dark blue suit fits him perfectly, blending authority with an almost imperceptible menace. His face, calm and unreadable, carries the weight of countless decisions that will ripple through history. Across the room, Zelensky arrives, hurried and visibly strained. His face bears the exhaustion of nights spent in uncertainty, dark shadows under his eyes, lips pressed into a thin line. He seats himself with a quiet resolve, yet beneath that facade lie questions gnawing at him. The atmosphere crackles, tension together with a strange sense of anticipation. Neither man says much at first, but the silence is deafening, as if the walls themselves are listening. Then, Zelensky begins. His voice cuts through the stillness, sharp and unwavering. He explains how Russia is once again meddling in their affairs, threatening the stability of Europe itself. There's a note of urgency, almost desperation, as he warns of imminent danger. His words spill out, hurried but clear. Russia's tactics are relentless, their threats growing louder. Without Western support, he insists, Ukraine cannot hold the line, the stakes are too high. Every word hangs heavy in the silence, like the scent of burnt oak lingering after a fire. Trump's expression remains cold, stone-faced, listening intently. The room's atmosphere tightens with unspoken demands. He responds not with warmth but with calculated detachment, emphasizing that they need more than just words. Money, support, these are non-negotiable. The look in his eyes suggests he senses Zelensky's desperation, but remains unfazed. He leans forward slightly, voice steady and cold, stressing that victory depends on resources, not promises. The conversation pauses, heavy with implications. What's next is anyone's guess. Zelensky presses on, his voice growing firmer. He argues that Ukraine has proven resilience. We can hold, he says. But without financial backing, our chances diminish. It's simple math, he claims. He leans in, voice rising. If support stops, Russia will think we've folded, and victory becomes a distant dream. Trump looks at him, unblinking. Their eyes lock, a silent duel of wills, each sensing the other's resolve. The room feels smaller, tighter, as if the entire world hinges on this moment. Suddenly, Trump's voice cuts through, calm but firm. He asks if Zelensky is sure about the financial outlook, about the state of their support. The question hangs in the air, heavy with implication. Zelensky hesitates but quickly affirms, yes, he's confident. Yet the uncertainty remains. Whispers of doubts echo at the back of everyone's mind. The leader's face reveals nothing, but his eyes betray a lingering suspicion. What will happen if the support disappears entirely? Trump's gaze sharpens. He looks directly at Zelensky, no masks, no pretense. The room falls silent again, only the muffled hum of lights overhead and the distant sound of hurried footsteps outside set the scene. His expression grows colder, more calculating. Finally, he speaks, his words simple but loaded. The support is no longer guaranteed. The stakes are clear, the future of Ukraine hangs in the balance. Any misstep could mean disaster. The question is, will they accept it? Will they understand what he's really saying? Here's where the twist lurks. What does this all mean for the future? Will Ukraine get the support it needs, or is this the beginning of the end? The room holds its breath. The true game behind these walls is only just beginning to unfold, and the stakes could reshape the world as we know it. Stay tuned, because what happens next could change everything, even in ways no one could have predicted. 5 minutes ago, in the heart of Florida, no one expected a game-changing clash. A moment so intense it could shake the future. Donald Trump, with a calm, commanding presence, closed the door to journalists during a high-stakes meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, and immediately, accusations of corruption flooded the air like a thunderclap. Old scandals, billionaire networks, and political secrets seemed to hang heavy in the room. Trump put Zelensky in a corner where there was no escape, an ultimate trap from which no move was possible. Why did Trump behave so boldly? And what did he say that could turn everything upside down? Stay tuned, what happens next will blow your mind. In the Grand Hall, Trump stepped forward, as if the space around him was his own. His movements deliberate, unhurried, exuding dominance. There was no show of emotion, just pure authority. His gaze was piercing, like a predator sizing up its prey. Dressed in a deep blue suit that fit perfectly, he looked almost detached from the room's tension. His face was calm but heavy, eyes steady, revealing a mind calculating every word. A slight gesture, almost imperceptible, signaled his confidence, like a king claiming his domain. The hall was eerily quiet, stripped of flags or cameras, only the light falling sharply on his face, casting stark shadows that made him seem almost supernatural. There was nowhere to hide from his stare, only the cold silence. Zelensky entered swiftly, a bit tense, his face tired but composed. The lines under his eyes betrayed sleepless nights, yet he sat firmly, meeting Trump's gaze with a mixture of hope and hesitation. Every movement was calculated, nervous hands, quick breaths, trying to mask the growing pressure. In that tense silence, Zelensky began speaking, voice sharp and clear, cutting through the thick air. "We are facing an emergency," he stated urgently. Russia is meddling again, interfering in our affairs, endangering not just us but all of Europe. They're not stopping, and time is running out. If we don't act now, we'll be too late. Trump listened silently, face impassive. No flicker of change, no reaction. Still, a calculated pause lingered before he responded. In his calm yet cold tone, he cut to the chase. We don't need fancy words. We need resources. Money. Support. We can win if we get what we need. His words were deliberate, heavy with implication. Then, he paused again, as if measuring the weight of his own message, waiting for Zelensky's response. Look, Zelensky pressed, voice growing firmer, we've already shown we can stand firm. But without further financial backing, our chances are slim. It's simple math, we are holding back, but if support dries up, everything crumbles. This isn't about desire or hope, it's about survival. His eyes flashed, a mix of determination and desperation. Russia believes we'll give up support soon. If that happens, they'll see victory within their grasp. Trump's expression didn't flicker, no signs of agreement or disagreement. Only his fingers, resting lightly on the table, moved slowly, silent signals of control. A tense, almost eerie quiet descended. Zelensky, sensing the shift, pushed harder, voice stronger. We've proved we can endure. But without ongoing aid, we won't hold out much longer. It's not just a wish, it's a matter of arithmetic. The room hung in suspended uncertainty. Trump's gaze fixed, unreadable. That silence stretched. Then, he finally broke it, voice calm but with an unsettling edge. You're betting on math, he said slowly. And I like that. But let's talk about what it really means. He leaned forward, placing his foot on the table, a gesture so casual it sent a shiver through the tense air. Without aid, you're not just losing support, you're losing everything. Territories, resources, political strength, all slipping away. And the West? They'll watch, but they won't act. It's all about control now. Zelensky hesitated, but his resolve hardened. What are you suggesting? He demanded, voice edged with alarm. Trump's eyes bored into him, unblinking. We need clear answers, he said. If you're sure about losing, just say it. No more games. His words echoed with ominous finality. Every second felt like a fragile glass about to shatter. The tension sharpened. Zelensky felt the walls closing in, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down. The room's silence was deafening, each breath echoing like a warning. Trump's gaze was fixed, unyielding. Then, with a slow, measured tone, he uttered, "Where's the result?" Those two words, softer yet more penetrating than anything else said so far, pierced through the thick air. A cold sweat broke out on Zelensky's forehead. The unspoken challenge hung heavy. The room seemed to tighten, shadows deepening. The stakes had never been higher. Every fiber in Zelensky screamed, "Can I hold this line? Or is everything about to fall apart?" The game was set, the stakes clear. Now, it was only a matter of who would blink first. In a quiet room, charged with tension, the stakes couldn't be higher. One side knows what's at risk, trust, credibility, peace itself. The other stands firm, holding secrets behind carefully controlled expressions. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by a question that hangs in the air. What if the deal is already lost but no one dares to admit it? Trump was silent for a moment, then spoke softly but intentionally. He hadn't made any empty promises. No pledges that everything would change overnight. No demands for money or quick solutions. His words cut through the air. Here are our interests, our borders, what's on the table. And what's not. Zelensky stayed silent, a trait he rarely abandoned. His cool, serious facade was like armor against the storm of negotiations. Trump chuckled slightly. The real pressure starts when dialogue ends, he replied. The room seemed to tighten. And then, unexpectedly, the conversation tilted. Trump leaned forward, voice steadier. Imagine a leader living in constant danger, he said. His mind must be always working long into the night, considering every move. Zelensky's fists clenched nervously, eager to respond but held back as Trump pressed on. You think he's reckless? That he acts on impulse? Trump's tone sharpened. No. He's patient. Thoughtful. Long-term. And he's determined to hold on, no matter what. Zelensky's attempt to rise was met with a steady hand from Trump, who kept the dialogue firmly on its course. Throughout these talks, I'd maintained the law, no violations, no games, no lies. That's more valuable than any empty phrase, Trump stated. A challenge resonating like a drumbeat. Zelensky exhaled sharply, frustration flickering in his eyes. Trust, he said, voice trembling slightly. You want to know if we can rely on these promises? Trump nodded, slow and deliberate. We can talk, yes. But trust isn't built in words. It's earned in actions, he replied. A pause settled, weighty and thick with unspoken doubt. Trump's gaze fixed intently on Zelensky. I'm proud of the effort, but words alone are meaningless without results, he said. If Ukraine and Russia reach an agreement, I suggest one thing: stay out of their way. Zelensky's head moved subtly, a sign of reluctant agreement. Trump studied him carefully. Promises don't mean much if no one trusts. That's the essential lesson learned from history, he said. Then, with a piercing look, he added, and I've seen another truth in this game: without trust, there's no war. Only endless chaos. The room grew colder as the weight of these words sank in. The question now echoes: can trust still be salvaged, or are we doomed to mediocrity, caught in the storm of fragile promises and broken deals? The answer hangs on the edge of a knife, as the future of peace remains uncertain and shrouded in shadows. A storm of tension filled the room as the two men faced each other, shadows cast sharply across their faces. Silence loomed for a moment, thick with unspoken questions. Then Zelensky broke the silence, voice trembling but deliberate. He was about to challenge the foundation of promises made. The words cut through the air like a blade: the Budapest Memorandum is nothing but a stone trapped in time. It was not just a statement. It was a declaration of betrayal. Zelensky's eyes flashed with defiance, knowing well what this meant. The guarantees we relied on, our safety, had been shattered, obliterated by Russia's actions. The room cooled even more, not from the air conditioning, but from the weight of this accusation. The atmosphere grew colder with the realization that the very walls seemed to tighten around them. Trump's gaze hardened. He sat in silence, his expression unreadable, eyes locked on Zelensky's. For seconds that felt like eternity, he remained unresponsive. Was he contemplating a retort? Or was he simply listening? Then, in a quiet, measured tone, he posed a question that cut even deeper: are you sure you want to walk this path? Zelensky's shoulders sank. He nodded slowly. Trust, he whispered, is what we're risking now. How can we believe in new guarantees when the old ones already failed? The room seemed to hold its breath. Trump's face remained calm, but his quiet demeanor hid a storm beneath. It was not risk, he finally admitted. No, it was something darker. Some long-held decision that had been weighing on him, now revealed. Let's clarify things, he said softly. His hand moved with deliberate calm, gesturing towards the table, as if to underscore the gravity of the talks. With a slow, deliberate motion, he pointed to the unratified Budapest Agreement, an international promise made but never ratified by the world's most powerful nations. It was no longer a binding treaty, just a political gesture, a fragile promise with no teeth. Zelensky sat in silence again, understanding the implications. This was a stark reminder: the guarantees we relied upon are more illusion than reality. This agreement, signed by the world's leading powers, was now just paper, a hollow echo of trust that had been broken long ago. In this moment, the room was filled with a tense realization: reliance on old promises is a risk with potentially devastating consequences. The game had changed, and the true stakes had just been revealed. How far will they go to protect what remains? And will others see this betrayal more clearly now? The silent question hung in the air: what is truly left of security when the foundations are shattered? And what new paths lie ahead in this uncertain, dangerous game of trust and betrayal. Earlier, the atmosphere in the room shifted toward tension. The conversation about funds took a darker turn. Trump laid out a stark reality: it's not just about money, it's about survival. Zelensky's face remained calm, but beneath the surface, a wave of discomfort grew. The air thickened with unspoken questions. What are we really fighting for? How deep does the corruption go? The moment felt like a trap closing in. Most likely, Trump's instincts told him things could become painful soon. He kept his gaze steady, not betraying any sign of concern. The danger was palpable. The room was silent, but heavy with unspoken truths. Trump knew that revealing too much could jeopardize everything. He warned softly but firmly, it's not just about numbers, but about life itself. His voice cut through the quiet like a blade. He explained that when a nation truly struggles for survival, it shows in every detail: how officials move, what they buy, where they rest. Everything is a reflection of the ongoing fight. Zelensky nodded, but his expression was unreadable. Trump leaned in slightly, eyes focused. You want to say we live in Russia, right? He asked, voice deliberately cold. Zelensky answered carefully, I want to say, the risk is too high. There's no room for error. His fingers clenched tightly, betraying his composure. Trump smirked, almost amused. A separate case, he echoed mockingly, as if dismissing a minor inconvenience. The phrase hung in the air, heavy with sarcasm. He chuckled softly, how many stories have I heard this past month? Lies about your friends. About your struggles. His words dripped with disdain, every syllable a reminder that the facade was cracking. The room's atmosphere was thick, the stakes higher than ever. Trump's words revealed the cracks in the game, secrets tangled deep within the machinery of power. Zelensky stared, battle-worn, realizing that nothing was quite what it seemed. The truth had begun to surface, and with it, the question, how much longer can this facade hold? Shocking question, what secrets could this intense showdown reveal about global power? Engaging twist, as secrets unravel, will Zelensky's next move change the course of history? Sensory details, the faint rustling of papers, the cold touch of the table beneath Zelensky's fingers, the tense silent breathing filling the room, each moment charged with the weight of impending revelation. In a room thick with tension, the air seemed to hum with unspoken threats. Trump sat like a formidable statue, his calm demeanor masking the storm beneath. Zelensky, weighed down by uncertainty, faced him with a blend of resolve and dread. The silence stretched, heavy as a thundercloud ready to burst, before Trump finally broke it with a whisper that cut through the room like a blade. What did the former president say that turned this already dangerous meeting into a potential turning point? Could a single sentence unlock or destroy everything? Stay tuned, because what happens next shocks even the most cynical observers, truths that shake the foundations of power itself. Support this story by engaging with the video, your insight counts. Let us know which city you're listening from in the comments. Now, picture this, Trump enters the hall as if it's his own private realm, every step measured, a calm confidence radiating from him. His dark blue suit fits like a second skin, the aura of someone who's already mastered this game. No gestures, just a quiet, commanding presence. The walls close in, shadows cast sharply from the overhead light, accentuating his unshakable calm. There's an unspoken message in that stillness, he has already decided the outcome. Meanwhile, Zelensky moves swiftly, yet visibly exhausted. His face bears the fatigue of sleepless nights, eyes carrying the weight of unspoken fears. The lines under his eyes tell stories of nights spent in worry, lips slightly parted as if to speak but unsure where to start. He positions himself against the backdrop of Trump's silence. A figure caught between hope and despair, one wrong word away from collapse. Then Zelensky begins, voice sharp and hurried, almost desperate to be heard. We are facing a relentless adversary, he asserts, voice echoing sharply in the quiet room. Russia interferes again, threatening stability across Europe. Time is not on our side. The words tumble out, but the room remains unmoved, Trump's poker face unchanging. Trump leans back slightly, eyes fixed, almost inscrutable. We don't need sweet words, he counters, his tone cool yet cutting. We need resources, money, support, nothing else. The words hang in the air, heavy with implication. Zelensky's face tightens, hope flickering. Is this the moment where everything hinges on a single promise? He takes a breath, trying to carve out a foothold amid the mounting pressure. We've proven we can withstand this, he adds, voice firm but tinged with weariness. But without aid, victory slips away. It's simple, mathematically inevitable. As he speaks, the room's atmosphere intensifies. Silence stretches again, each second feeling like an eternity. Trump's gaze shifts, locking onto Zelensky with an icy stare. You talk about victory, he says slowly, but what does that really mean for you? Land? Power? Or just another support tranche to keep the lights on a little longer? His words are a dagger, each syllable precise. Zelensky's defiance flickers. We're holding, he replies, voice steady but strained. But without ongoing support, everything could collapse. It's not a matter of desire, it's the stark reality. A tense pause ensues. Trump's fingers inch toward the table, tapping softly, an unspoken challenge. Let's be clear, he finally states, voice calm but insidious. You say you believe in words, but words are empty without action. If support stops, so does your fight. The room falls into a deep silence, thick with unspoken accusations and mounting fury. Zelensky's jaw clenches as he struggles to find his next words. The air carries a faint metallic scent, embossing the weight of impending doom like a battle waiting just beyond the horizon. Trump leans forward, hands resting lightly on the surface, calm, yet commanding. Before we talk about more aid, he continues, I need certainty. Are you sure about your stand? Because the stakes are higher than you think. His tone drops slightly, an almost whispering threat, the atmosphere tightening further. What secret does that one phrase hold? Will Zelensky surrender to doubt, or is there a deeper game at play? The next move could change everything. Prepare for what's coming, because in this room, trust evaporates, leaving behind only the raw, brutal truth. Keep watching, because when the dust settles, only one thing will be clear, the game of power and peril is far from over and nobody knows where it's headed next. 5 minutes ago in Florida, an event unfolded that no one anticipated. A high-stakes meeting between world leaders took a shocking turn, leaving everyone stunned. Donald Trump, in a calm yet commanding manner, abruptly closed the door to journalists and faced his guest, Vladimir Zelensky, before launching into a confrontation that would change everything. The atmosphere was tense, laden with unspoken accusations and strategic defiance. Imagine a room stripped of all distractions, no flags, no cameras, only the stark silence broken by sharp breaths. Trump's expression was composed, almost unreadable, as if he owned the space he occupied, an authority that needed no confirmation. His dark blue suit fit him perfectly, a symbol of confidence and control, yet his eyes betrayed a heavy weight of secrets. Every movement was measured, deliberate, as if he had already orchestrated this moment. Zelensky entered quickly, trying to mask his fatigue with a determined look, but the shadows under his eyes reflected sleepless nights and mounting pressure. As Zelensky began speaking, his voice grew sharper, echoing across the silent hall. He claimed Russia's interference was threatening global stability, asserting that only decisive support from the West could turn the tide. His words were charged with urgency, every sentence layered with the hope for decisive action, yet rooted in fear. Trump listened, unmoving, his face an expressionless mask that hid mounting calculations. The room became a battleground of wills, words cutting through the heavy air like blades. Zelensky pressed on, demanding more support. He insisted that without additional funding, victory would slip out of their grasp. His voice trembled slightly as he emphasized that their survival depended on continued financial aid. The Ukrainian leader's words carried an unspoken plea of trust was fragile, broken by broken promises. He threw in the key numbers, billions already dispersed, yet questioned if this effort was truly making a difference. Trump's gaze fixed on him, unmoving, as if analyzing every detail, weighing every word. Then came an unexpected pause. Zelensky hesitated, sensing the shift in the room. Trump finally broke the silence, his tone calm but unyielding. We don't need fancy words or elaborate plans, he said. What we need is results. His voice was low, deliberate. He leaned back slightly, hands clasped, as if waiting for Zelensky's next move. The Ukrainian president's face shifted, confidence giving way to doubt. The tension escalated. Suddenly, Trump shifted the conversation. "Tell me," he asked calmly, "are you sure about your allies? About the money you claim to need?" Zelensky, caught off guard, hesitated, then responded carefully. Trump's eyes narrow, piercing, unmistakably signifying that the game was far from over. The room's silence was deafening, the stakes higher than ever before. Next, Trump unveiled a folder, an ordinary-looking dossier that carried the weight of potential revelations. His fingers lingered over it, not opening it immediately. Instead, he gestured with a calculated nonchalance that sent a clear message: he had contacts, inside information, and he was ready to expose truths. Zelensky's face remained tense, knowing he was playing with fire. The room's scent of old wood and leather thickened as Trump's subtle moves hinted at deeper secrets. "Your words about trust and transparency," Trump said softly, "they don't match the reality I see." His voice was almost a whisper, yet every word seemed to echo with finality. "I have material. From your closest associates." He paused, playing with the folder as if weighing the consequences of revealing what it contained. Zelensky's breath caught, the room grew colder. In response, Zelensky tried to defend himself, claiming that any expenses were personal, not official. He argued that individuals had the right to spend their own funds as they pleased. Yet Trump remained silent, the silence thickening with unspoken accusations. Then, Trump opened the folder, nothing elaborate inside, just lines of raw data, numbers that told the real story behind the aid, behind the promises. He pointed to a specific page, revealing a purchase of luxury goods in Europe, an act that contradicted the official narrative of war support. Zelensky's eyes widened in disbelief, realizing the truth was slipping through his grasp. Trump then questioned him directly, "Are you implying your closest friends are involved in financial misconduct?" The room seemed to clutch at its own breath. Zelensky's voice faltered. "That's not possible," he insisted. But the evidence laid bare before him told a different story, one of hidden transactions, questionable alliances, and deeper corruption. A sudden realization struck both leaders: trust had been broken, and the game had changed. Trump leaned forward. His tone was calm but icy. "Let's be clear. This isn't just about aid or promises. It's about the survival of nations. And right now, the truth is the only thing that can save or ruin us." His gaze sharp, piercing through Zelensky's defenses. Just as the room seemed to hold its collective breath, a new question loomed: whose secrets would surface next? And what will be the real outcome of this high-stakes confrontation? 5 minutes ago, something extraordinary unfolded in Florida. Few could have imagined what was about to happen. Donald Trump, during a private meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, abruptly shut out the press, closing the doors like a fortress. What followed was a clash so fierce, so revealing, that it might shift the course of history itself. Accusations of corruption, secret deals, and hidden agendas all collided in one tense room. Imagine the scene: Trump walking in with a calm, almost dismissive stride. His every step measured, as if he owned the space. No need for grand gestures, just a quiet confidence that exuded dominance. His dark blue suit, impeccably tailored, contrasted sharply with his composed yet commanding presence. The silence was palpable. Tension thickened the air as his gaze locked onto Zelensky with an unspoken challenge. Zelensky entered swiftly, his face tired but determined. Shadows under his eyes betrayed long nights and exhaustion, yet his posture was resolute. He sat opposite Trump, aware that every word could be a trap. The atmosphere felt like walking on razor edge, unstable, unpredictable. When Zelensky finally spoke, his voice cut through the silence with sharp clarity. He accused Russia of meddling, of threatening global peace, and pressed for urgent support. His words echoed with desperation, hope, and a hint of defiance. Trump's expression remained unreadable. His face was a mask, calm, almost indifferent, yet his eyes betrayed a sharp mind analyzing every move. Without emotion, he responded slowly. Words like resources and support hung in the air, heavy with implication. It was clear he was weighing every sentence, every inference. The room slowly felt colder, more ominous. They were playing a high-stakes game, each move fraught with danger. Zelensky pushed further, demanding swift assistance. He emphasized that without financial aid, victories become impossible. His voice grew stronger, more urgent. Yet, Trump sat unmoved, his fingers subtly tracing the edge of the table, as if plotting his next move. Silence stretched, thick and almost suffocating. Only the ticking clock echoed in the tense space. Then Trump broke the silence with a question that shocked Zelensky. Are you sure about your friends? About the trust you place in others? His voice was calm but chilling. Zelensky hesitated, caught between truth and deception. The room seemed to tense even more, a fragile moment where everything could shatter. The conversation shifted to financial support, aid, and political guarantees. Zelensky's words became desperate, a plea wrapped in conviction. His tone betrayed a mix of hope and fear. Trump listened silently, his eyes cold and calculating. The question hung, will aid lead to victory, or only prolong the agony? The stakes had never been higher. Suddenly, Trump leaned forward slightly, a calculated move that sent a shiver down Zelensky's spine. His voice dropped to a whisper. Support or defeat? Choose carefully. Those words echoed like a death knell. The clash of wills reached a boiling point. Did Zelensky realize that even his most heartfelt pleas could be dismissed as mere illusion? In the end, the room grew eerily silent again. Trump's unspoken verdict was clear: trust isn't bought with promises or money. It's earned through strength, something Zelensky's struggle desperately needs. As they sat in that sealed chamber, the question remained: whose plan will prevail? And who will be left standing when the dust settles? This encounter, unseen by the world until now, may become the catalyst for a new chapter in geopolitical conflict. The stakes are enormous, and the outcome uncertain. One thing is certain: in that room, behind those closed doors, the fate of nations was decided by silence, looks, and words that cut like knives. Stay tuned for what might be the most critical revelation in recent history. The answers lie in what was left unsaid, and in the shadows of this defining confrontation. Just 5 minutes ago in Florida, a scene unfolded that no one could have predicted. Donald Trump, in a seemingly casual move, slammed the door in the face of reporters during a high-stakes meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. What was supposed to be a diplomatic discussion turned into a silent battlefield of words, cloaked in shadows and unspoken threats. The atmosphere grew tense, more than a room filled with the weight of secrets and unspoken deals. Imagine the flickering lights overhead, casting sharp shadows on the walls, as Trump approached the room like it was his own territory, calm, confident, almost indifferent. His posture was effortless, each step measured, echoing silently with authority. His dark blue suit blended seamlessly with the dim lighting, but behind that calm exterior lurked an unwavering determination. He carried the aura of someone unyielding, unshaken, trust worn like armor, trust that didn't need to be flaunted. Meanwhile, Zelensky entered with hurried steps, a touch of fatigue etched into his face. His eyes betrayed exhaustion and resolve, dark circles from sleepless nights, the faint scent of night's fatigue on his skin. His jacket, expensive yet slightly unsettled, hinted at the weight of the moment, tension crackling in the air, every breath sharp with anticipation. His face, initially composed, now bore the weariness of an impossible challenge, lips pressed tight, eyes flickering with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. The room grew silent as Zelensky took his seat across from Trump. A heavy pause stretched between them, like the pause before a lightning strike. Trump's gaze was cold, methodical, as if he was evaluating every word, every flicker of emotion in Zelensky's expression. It was a stare that cut through the silence, pushing the conversation into an abyss of unspoken power dynamics. Then Zelensky broke the silence, voice rising with urgency, as if probing the very core of his fears. "We're in a situation where Russia meddles again," he said, voice sharp, almost desperate. "The threat isn't just to us but to Europe itself. We see their maneuvers, hear the warnings. If we don't act now, it will be too late." His words hung heavily in the air, like a warning shot. Trump's face remained impassive, a mask of calm preparedness. His response was a cold assessment, no frills, no distractions, just straight to the point. "We don't need elaborate promises," he said, voice steady, almost dismissive. "What we need are resources, money, support to win this fight." A tense pause followed. Zelensky's gaze intensified, pushing forward. "We've already proven we can hold firm," he declared. "But without continued aid, our chances diminish. It's not a matter of desire. It's basic math now." His words carried a weight that made the room feel smaller, more claustrophobic. Trump studied him silently, fingers leisurely tracing a pattern on the table. Then, suddenly, he shifted the tone, raising a question that hit like a punch. "Are you sure that's the end of it? That's the real concern, isn't it? That we're just buying time, just delaying the inevitable?" His voice was calm, but beneath it was an ominous undercurrent, an unspoken warning that made Zelensky's confidence flicker. The room became engulfed in a different kind of tension. Trump's gaze was piercing, almost like he was dragging Zelensky into a trap of untruths. "Tell me," Trump continued, voice lowered slightly, "what exactly is your plan? How do you see victory?" He leaned forward just enough so that every word sounded like a challenge, an invitation to expose weakness. Zelensky swallowed hard. The words battled inside him, unsure if he was fighting for hope or simply trying to survive the storm. "We are doing everything we can," he said, voice trembling but firm. "We're holding the line. Without your support, we won't last." Trump's response was a smirk, an expression that revealed nothing but suggested everything. "Holding the line isn't enough," he said calmly. "You keep saying victory is within reach, but what does victory really mean for you? Is it just holding territories? Gaining resources? Or something deeper? Tell me the truth." His question sliced through the tension, forcing Zelensky to confront uncomfortable truths. Their exchange deepened, the conversation unraveling beyond mere politics, touching fears buried deep within each man. Zelensky's voice stumbled as he attempted to explain, to convince, but Trump's relentless questions kept pushing him back, challenging every phrase, every promise. And then, with a sudden shift, Trump stared directly at Zelensky, asking a stark question that stopped time. "Are you sure your country is alive? That your leadership can last? That your people still believe?" A chilling silence followed as those words sank in. The weight of doubt pressing into the room, an unspoken threat lingering in the air like a storm ready to strike. In that moment, everything changed. The room filled with a heavy stillness, as if the walls themselves held their breath. Zelensky sensed it, an unseen storm brewing. He knew this wasn't just about support or money, it was about survival, about facing the terrifying reality that the game may already be lost. The truth stared him in the face, and he realized nothing would ever be the same again. 5 minutes ago, in the heart of Florida, no one saw what was coming next. A shocking scene unfolded. Donald Trump abruptly shut the door on journalists during a critical meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. And then, with no warning, he dropped a bombshell, allegations of corruption that could shake the world. The rumors, the scandals, billionaires and powerful families, all circling around him and his closest allies. Trump cornered Zelensky into a situation from which there was no escape. What did Trump say? Why could this meeting become a turning point in global affairs? Stay tuned. What you're about to hear will blow your mind. Support this story with your thoughts, by liking and sharing, and leave a comment telling us which city you're watching from. He entered the room like an owner stepping into his domain, confident, unhurried, as if he had long claimed this space as his own. No dramatics, no gestures of importance. Just deliberate, measured steps, trusting in the strength of reputation. Trump carried himself with a clear agenda. His dark blue suit fit perfectly, as if tailored to his form, unyielding and composed. His face betrayed nothing, no smile, no frown, only eyes, heavy and alert, revealing decades of experience in negotiations that leave nothing to chance. He sat quietly, as if awaiting Zelensky's move, his presence commanding the room without a single word. The environment was stark, devoid of flags, cameras, any protocol noise, only the glow of the ceiling light casting sharp shadows on his face, intensifying the moment's gravity. Vladimir Zelensky entered next, tense. moving a little faster than planned, sensing the weight of what was coming. His expensive jacket couldn't hide the fatigue beneath his eyes, the dark circles from sleepless nights and endless worries. His lips were clenched, every muscle in his face tight with anticipation. He positioned himself opposite Trump, avoiding direct eye contact, yet his challenge was clear, a mixture of hope, defiance, and uncertainty. Zelensky's glance carried the unspoken question, will this fight end here? A few seconds of silence stretched thick in the air. Trump remained unmoved, a picture of calm resolve. He didn't open documents or check his notes. He simply looked, giving Zelensky the silent choice to speak or stay silent. And then Zelensky broke the pause with a voice sharp with urgency. He started with a voice that echoed through the room, trembling with a mix of resolve and fear. We are in a situation where Russia meddles again. They threaten the stability of Europe. His words were rapid, almost breathless, as if he feared they might be lost. The tension in the room thickened, every word echoing off the bare walls. Trump listened, his face an unreadable mask. Zelensky continued, desperate to make his case. Russia's tactics are clear: pressure, shock, and if we don't act now, it will be too late. We need support. We need resources, money, to win. His voice grew more insistent, almost pleading. Trump's expression remained stoic, unflinching, as if he was calculating each word's weight. He spoke softly, deliberately. We don't need poetic phrases. We need results. We need resources. Zelensky pressed on. We've proven we can hold the line, but without continued support, our chances diminish. This isn't about desire, it's basic mathematics. A heavy silence followed. Trump's fingers tapped slowly on the table, an almost imperceptible signal that he was weighing everything. Zelensky saw it, the small signs of patience stretched thin. The Ukrainian leader's voice cracked slightly as he emphasized, without ongoing aid, we won't succeed. It's not just about wishful thinking. Trump finally broke the silence, eyes fixed intently on Zelensky. Calm but firm, he asked without emotion, you're sure? You believe in the aid's sufficiency? Zelensky hesitated, the weight of the question pressing down on him. Trump shifted his gaze, measuring him. Then, with a calculated tone, he remarked, you mentioned in your speech that losing support would spell disaster. But tell me, what exactly do you consider victory? He leaned forward slightly, placing a foot on the table as if inviting a confession. Are we talking about land, influence, or just enough aid to survive until next year? Zelensky struggled to find his words, caught between truth and uncertainty. He remembered past promises, the certainty in his voice that aid would flow, that victory was within reach. Yet now, doubt crept into his mind as he felt the shifting currents of trust and betrayal. He opened his mouth, but the words tripped over each other, uncertain. Trump's gaze intensified, a predator waiting for the right moment. His voice turned almost casual but carried the weight of authority deep in every syllable. Let's clarify one thing. Do you really believe the numbers? Or is it just another promise to keep the game going? He paused, eyeing Zelensky closely. Because the truth is, there's a fine line between support and dependence. The room grew colder. The message was clear, this was no longer about aid, it was about the real price of loyalty. Trump then shifted gears, his tone smooth yet unmistakable. Before we talk about more loans or funds, tell me, are you certain Vladimir Zelensky is alive? His words sliced through the tension. Zelensky's face betrayed a flicker of shock. The room's atmosphere shifted violently, from tense negotiation to startling revelation. Trump's eyes pierced him, as if daring him to deny the harsh truth. His question lingered, an echo of doubts about the foundation of everything Zelensky believed in. The room seemed to hold its breath. A moment before the storm, the stakes higher than ever. In a tense confrontation that could change the course of history, two powerful figures faced off behind closed doors. The stakes? Control, influence, and the future of nations. What secrets did they reveal? And who truly controls the narrative? Prepare to uncover a shocking truth that could destabilize the world as we know it. Imagine a world where political ambitions clash in silence, each move calculated and cold. A man walks into the room, as if it belongs to him. His movements are composed, deliberate, exuding calm certainty. No grand gestures, just steady steps that echo authority. His dark blue suit blends seamlessly with his confident demeanor. Behind his piercing gaze lies a plan that could brand and reshape alliances forever. The room is eerily silent, the air thick with anticipation. Every glance, every breath seems to carry weight. Suddenly, another man enters, weary but determined. His face shows traces of fatigue, yet his eyes blaze with resolve. He sits, tense, as if waiting for the blow to land. His presence radiates urgency. The room's atmosphere shifts, tension hangs like a heavy curtain. His voice, sharp and rapid, breaks the silence. Russia is meddling again, he declares, warning of a looming threat. His words are a warning bell, a call to action. He speaks of crises, of Europe teetering on the edge, of a potential explosion. His words drip with the fear of an impending catastrophe that none can escape. The calm figure responds silently, his face unreadable. His expression is calm, almost detached, like a judge weighing every word. He listens as the words of warning flow. Unyielding. His gaze narrows. Then he asks, voice steady, do you believe someone will follow this reckless path? The room seems to hold its breath. Questions swirl, is this a threat? A warning? A game? The tension escalates as the conversation takes a darker turn. The real question emerges, what does this potential chaos mean for the world? For the players involved? The second man's voice intensifies, if we ignore these threats, the world risks falling into chaos. We can't afford to be passive. He emphasizes that the world is fragile, that every action has consequences. His words hang in the air, heavy with urgency. Yet the calm figure remains unmoved, his face betraying no emotion. Only a slow, deliberate gesture shows he's considering the stakes. A subtle nod, as if accepting a grim reality. A moment of silence passes, heavy enough to crack steel. Who truly holds the power? Who can steer this dangerous ship away from destruction? Suddenly, the room's atmosphere shifts again. The first man leans forward, eyes burning with resolve. We are at a crossroads, he proclaims. The decisions we make now will echo for generations. The future depends on understanding who truly pulls the strings. His voice echoes like a warning. The other's response is cold yet measured. The game is simple. If we don't act, chaos becomes inevitable. We need strategy, not fearmongering. The room feels smaller, tighter. Every word, every pause, is a battlefield of its own. In this intense debate, one question remains unanswered: who controls the chaos? Who manipulates the fragile balance of power? Are they fighting for control of nations, or for something even more sinister? As the dialogue reaches its climax, the stakes become clearer. This isn't just a confrontation, it's a battle for the future of the world itself, and no one is safe from its repercussions. Will the truth come to light? Or will the game of shadows continue, unseen and unstoppable? The choice lies in their hands, and ours to uncover. Early, just moments ago in Florida, an event unfolded that no one could have predicted. Donald Trump walked into a room with an air of certainty, closing the door on reporters and sealing himself off from the world. Standing face to face with Vladimir Zelensky, he instantly revealed a depth of resolve that stunned everyone. Within seconds, he launched into a discussion cloaked in tension, hinting at scandals lurking just beneath the surface, all while a storm of political chaos gathered around him. What did Trump say that caused such a stir? Why might this encounter mark a turning point in global affairs? Stick around until the final word, you won't believe what's coming next. Make sure to support this story with your views and comments, and tell us which city you're tuning in from. The atmosphere inside was electric, thick with anticipation, as Trump entered as if he owned the room, calm, unshaken, as if the walls themselves recognized his authority. His posture was deliberate, each step measured, without showmanship but with undeniable confidence. His dark blue suit fitted him perfectly, an armor forged for moments like this. The silence was heavy, broken only by the subtle scrape of his chair. He didn't need to change positions or nod, every move was purposefully silent, speaking volumes about his plans. Behind him, the dim light cast sharp shadows that accentuated his calm, almost unfathomable expression. His eyes were heavy-lidded, focused, hinting at a mind calculating every word before it left his lips. This was a man in control, even when the room's atmosphere trembled with unspoken questions. And then Zelensky arrived faster than expected, with a tired yet determined face. His expensive jacket couldn't hide the fatigue etched around his eyes, deep bags and a slight grimace betrayed days of sleepless nights. His presence was tense, almost like a boxer preparing for the final round. He sat down, not directly facing Trump but sidestepping an unconscious gesture of challenge and restraint. Zelensky's glance was sharp, filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty, his body language hinting at the weight of what was about to unfold. The room fell into a tense silence. Trump's gaze was unblinking, waiting, as if reading Zelensky's every thought. Then, without hesitation, Zelensky spoke, his voice cutting through the quiet, sharp and forceful. He quickly laid out the charged situation. Once again, Russia was meddling, threatening Europe, pressing on Ukraine's borders. His words hung in the air, demanding attention. He warned of consequences. If the West hesitated now, the repercussions would be catastrophic. His tone was firm, almost desperate, as he argued that immunity was slipping. Trump's face remained impassive. No smile, no frown, just an intense, watchful silence. "We don't need elaborate promises," he finally said, voice steady and measured. Zelensky pressed on, voicing the urgent need for support, resources, financial aid, backup, everything necessary to win this fight. He paused, eyes seeking any sign of response. But Trump didn't react, only his fingers, brushing the table's surface, betrayed a rising tension. Zelensky, sensing the silence, grew more assertive. He insisted. "We've proven we can withstand this, but without aid, our chances fade." His voice gained strength, each word echoing a mix of hope and frustration. He declared that Russia believed Ukraine would give up support, but he refused to accept defeat. "If they succeed, they win," he said. His words wove a web of conviction, pressing Trump to consider the stakes. Trump finally looked directly at Zelensky, eyes narrowing, calm but authoritative. "You've spoken of victory," he said, voice low, "but tell me, what does that victory really mean?" A pause lingered. The question hung, heavy in the air, challenging the very foundation of Zelensky's resolve. The tension was palpable, it felt like standing on the edge of a precipice, waiting for the next move. Are territories, political influence, or just another aid tranche enough? Trump's tone was icy, shadowed with underlying skepticism. Zelensky hesitated, unsure how to respond. The room seemed to breathe, holding back an inevitable clash. Trump's gaze fixed on him, unwavering. "Money alone doesn't win wars," he continued. "This isn't business as usual anymore." The words struck deep, as if stabbing through the veneer of diplomatic civility, each syllable echoing like a warning. Zelensky pushed back, trying to assert the resilience of his nation. "We're holding on," he said firmly. "But without sufficient support, our position weakens. It's basic mathematics." His voice was calm, but inside, he felt the weight of a growing crisis, each second feeling more like the final count. Trump's expression was unreadable. He leaned forward slowly, arms resting on the table. "Support, money, what's next?" he asked, almost whispering. "You believe in words? That promises will carry us through?" His question was a dagger aimed straight at the core of Zelensky's hopes. The room fell into a charged silence. Trump's voice cut through, mocking, challenging, yet eerily composed. "Look at the numbers," he said softly. "Time and again, promises are made. But the results? They stay the same. Endless talk, few victories. What was behind this relentless debate? Why does Trump keep challenging the core of Zelensky's resolve? The story is far from over. As tensions mount, the next warning might change everything, perhaps even crossing a line no one expected." Suddenly, Trump shifted his tone, leaning back with a piercing gaze. "Let's speak openly," he said calmly. "You mention Russia. You say they're playing the long game. But what about the real players, America's true allies? What role do they really want to play? His words sliced through the air, an invitation to unfold truths everyone avoided. As Zelensky absorbed this, the atmosphere grew heavier. Shadows danced on the walls, and the faint scent of tension lingered, a reminder that behind every word, a battle of wills raged. What truly lies beneath this confrontation? And what will happen if the crucial lines are crossed? Stay tuned for what comes next. The stakes have never been higher. 5 minutes ago, in the heart of Florida, an unexpected event unfolded. No one saw it coming, nothing similar had happened before. Donald Trump, during a private meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, abruptly shut out the press and landed a shocking blow of corruption allegations. The current scandal is already dragging his family, wealthy allies, and top billionaires into its web. Trump left Zelensky with nowhere to hide, tightening the noose of political and legal pressure. What exactly did Trump say? Why could this meeting change everything? Stay with me until the end, you won't believe what's coming next. As Trump entered the room, he moved with a calm, almost regal confidence. It was as if the space belonged to him, as if the walls themselves bowed in homage. No dramatic gestures, only steady, deliberate steps. His expression quiet, unwavering. His eyes held a weight not of anger, but of conviction, like a general surveying his terrain before launching a decisive strike. Dressed in a dark blue suit that fit him like a second skin, he radiated control. His face was composed, almost strange in its calm, no smile, no shadow of emotion, just a heavy silence that drowned the room. He sat with a measured grace, every movement intentional, as if every second was a calculated decision. The ambience was stripped of protocol, the hall was bare, no flags, no cameras, no distracting noise. Light streamed down from above, casting sharp shadows that made Trump's face seem almost painted in a stark, bloodthirsty hue. Nowhere to hide from his gaze. Zelensky arrived shortly after. Moving quickly, perhaps too quickly, his steps betraying a rush to establish dominance in this tense moment. His face was tired, marked by sleepless nights. Under his eyes, shadows and fatigue etched sharp lines, but his tone was determined, trying to mask the strain. He positioned himself to face Trump directly but maintained a cautious distance, his expression a mixture of challenge, hope, and surprise. As silence descended, Trump remained motionless, watching intently. His lack of reaction was more intimidating than any shout. It was as if he had already made his decision and was simply waiting. Then Zelensky broke the silence, voice sharp and unwavering. He launched into a fiery speech about Russia's interference, the endless threat, the danger to Europe, and the urgent need for support. His words spilled out rapidly, almost on the edge of desperation, as if afraid the moment might slip away. He emphasized that Ukraine could endure, but only with sufficient resources, money, weapons, aid. He spoke of the urgency of the situation, of the need to act before it's too late. Yet Trump listened, his face remaining impassive, betraying little. His gaze was steady, unblinking. He interrupted only with a calm assertion, "We don't need beautiful words. We need resources. Support. Money." It was blunt, unapologetic. No flowery phrases, just cold facts. Trump's tone was unwavering, almost like a judge delivering a verdict. Zelensky pressed on, trying to defend his country's resilience, insisting they could hold on if only the West provided more. But Trump showed no sign of agreement. Only an icy look that spoke volumes. The conversation deepened, the air thickening with tension. Zelensky's voice grew firmer, asserting that without continued financial aid, their chances to survive diminished drastically. His face reflected the battle, hope intertwined with anxiety. He leaned forward slightly, palms pressed on the table, emphasizing his point: Ukraine was holding against all odds, but support had to come. Suddenly, Trump tilted his head, a subtle gesture full of meaning. He avoided eye contact, yet his eyes bore into Zelensky with a calculated intensity. The silence stretched, each man gauged the other's resolve. Trump finally spoke, voice measured but cold, "You're sure? Do you believe in your words?" Zelensky hesitated briefly but responded with a confident nod. The platform shifted. Trump leaned back, processing what had been said. Then, in a tone devoid of emotion, he uttered two words: "the math." His voice echoed, carrying the weight of a verdict, a warning. It was a challenge, an invitation to confront reality. And suddenly, the room felt colder. The stakes weren't just about aid, they were about control, power, the very future of Ukraine. The critical moment arrived. Trump raised his eyes, locking his gaze onto Zelensky's. A pause, an eternity, before he continued, voice calm but piercing, "Let's talk about her for a long time." Without emotion. Without fear. Without images. What followed was a stark analysis of the current situation. Trump questioned Ukraine's leadership, comparing Zelensky's claims to the truth. He pointed out that Ukraine's development had been held back by corruption, mismanagement, and Moscow's influence. Trump listed the achievements of Ukraine's space program, its advanced industrial infrastructure, and the bright minds behind cutting-edge technologies, things they had not been allowed to develop fully due to external control. His words cut like a blade through the silence. He knew the history, the facts. Trump's tone grew sharper. What about loan? What's happening in Ukraine today? His question was deliberate, forcing Zelensky to confront the reality he tried to ignore. Trump then turned to the narrative of continuous conflict under external influence, Moscow's control, the puppet strings that kept Ukraine's true potential shackled. The story was clear: Ukraine was fighting a different kind of war against its own history of betrayal, corruption, and dependence. Trump's words painted a vivid picture. Underneath the surface, the struggle wasn't only military, but also deeply embedded in the fabric of political influence. In this tense showdown, the air crackled, a battle not just of words, but of wills. Trump's voice broke through again, emphasizing the importance of independence. Ukraine was once a leader, he said. Now, it's under foreign control. And it's only a matter of time before everything collapses unless true change happens. Every phrase was a surgical strike, a call to action layered with unspoken threats. Zelensky was left with no choice but to listen. The room was silent once more. The weight of their conversation lingering like a thick fog, an unspoken challenge to the future of Ukraine, the silent roar of unseen battles that could reshape the entire geopolitical landscape. 5 minutes ago, in a quiet corner of Florida, the atmosphere was thick with tension and anticipation. No one expected what was about to unfold. Donald Trump, with his typical calm confidence, abruptly closed the doors to the journalists, shielding a secret that could shake the world. Meanwhile, Vladimir Zelensky sat across the table, unaware that this meeting would mark a pivotal shift in their ongoing conflict. What was said behind closed doors that could reshape fortunes? As Trump, dressed in a dark blue suit that seemed almost glued to his frame, entered with a commanding presence, the air shifted. His movements were deliberate, unhurried, like he owned the very space around him. No grand gestures, no theatricality, just silent assurance. His gaze was steady, piercing, carrying years of experience and calculated purpose. Everything about him exuded control, while Zelensky, hurried and visibly exhausted, took his seat, clutching a chain that betrayed his tense nerves. The silence stretched, heavy with unsaid questions, until Zelensky broke the quiet with sharp words. He accused Russia of meddling again, of threatening European stability, of pushing borders and patience to the brink. Trump listened intently, his face a mask of indifference, yet his eyes betrayed an underlying storm. "We don't need pretty words," Zelensky demanded. "We need support resources to win." But Trump's response was cold and precise: no flattery, no promises, just a stark reminder that victory isn't measured in words, but in cold, hard facts. The conversation escalated with a dangerous edge. Zelensky emphasized Ukraine's resilience, insisting they could hold their ground even without endless financial aid. But Trump deliberately parried, focusing instead on the weight of numbers. "The system has been overrun," he stated, voice calm but dripping with finality. "If the West truly wants success, it's going to be a grueling process. And that's a reality you must accept." His words echoed like a verdict, opening a crack in the facade of international support. Zelensky, sensing the tide turning, pressed on, emphasizing that they had proven their endurance. Yet, Trump wasn't swayed. His gaze sharpened. "It's not just about holding," he interrupted. "It's about winning. And victory isn't just territory or resources, it's political stability, lasting influence. Tell me, what does victory really mean to you? The room grew colder, the air thick with the question, are Ukraine's sacrifices enough, or are they merely delaying inevitable defeat? Suddenly, the discussion deepened into a confrontation of deeper truths. Trump leaned forward slightly, voice lowering, yet carrying the weight of authority. Let's talk about Joe Biden, he said, hinting at long-term strategies, hidden agendas, secrets behind the scenes. Zelensky's heart quickened. What secrets was Trump implying? Was this a warning or a challenge? As Trump's words hovered like a shadow over the table, the stakes grew higher. In that tense pause, Trump finally uncovered a startling truth: the immense financial aid that had poured into Ukraine over the years. Billions, he echoed, yet what has changed? We see promises made, but true victory remains distant. His tone turned sharper, more confrontational. This war is not a business, it's a bloodshed that demands sacrifices beyond money. Can you truly say your nation is winning? His words cut through the room like a blade, leaving Zelensky to grapple with the uncomfortable reality. The room fell silent again, but the truth lingered, an unspoken challenge. Trump's final question was a dagger. What does victory truly mean? Is it just reclaiming territory or something more: political dominance, international respect, legacy? As their eyes locked, the unspoken battle of ideals reached its crescendo. The outcome depended on a single choice: continue to bargain, or accept the brutal truth. And in that moment, everyone in the room knew that the world might never be the same. In a tense escalation of their high-stakes meeting, the room was thick with an unspoken challenge. A silence so heavy it seemed to press against the walls, threatening to break at any moment. Both men sat rigid, eyes locked, the weight of their words hanging in the air. This was no ordinary discussion, it was a battle of wills, a confrontation where everything was on the line. One wrong move could tip the balance toward victory or disaster. Suddenly, Trump shifted subtly, his movements measured, deliberate, as if he owned the room. He gazed out the window, his gaze falling on distant machinery, perhaps weapons or defenses, and spoke softly but with undeniable authority. "Don't worry," he said. "There's one thing I told him, which all of you tend to forget when you start talking about Ukraine and Russia." His voice resonated with quiet menace, hinting at secrets buried beneath a calm exterior. Trump's words sliced through the silence like a blade. He returned his gaze, composed yet chilling. "I told him that Russia has always tried to defeat us," he said. "But we're not the foolish ones." His tone was steady, the kind of confidence born from experience. This wasn't just a boast, it was a warning that danger loomed, but so did resilience. Zelensky's heart pounded. He hurried to speak, but hesitated. Anxious to break the oppressive quiet, he considered everything at once: his fears, his hopes, the razor-sharp edge of uncertainty. He sensed the moment and the stakes. Was this the point of no return? Would the conversation turn into a final gamble, a reckless move with everything on the line? Trump, ever calm, shifted once more, his demeanor unfazed as he continued to stare directly at Zelensky. His question hung in the air, heavy with implication. "What do you think?" he asked softly, yet with the force of a thunderclap. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. The tension was unbearable. In this room, history could be rewritten in a single word or gesture. The stakes had never been higher. What secret truths did these words hide? And who would blink first? Just imagine a leader in the midst of a tense confrontation, silence thick as fog, the air heavy with unspoken threats. 5 minutes ago, in a quiet corner of Florida, chaos erupted in a way no one anticipated. Donald Trump, with calm and cold precision, slammed the door on a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky in the face of a scandal so dirty, so entrenched, it threatens everything. Supporters and enemies alike are gathered around, caught in the shadows of corruption. Billionaires, families, and political titans are all under scrutiny. Trump pushed Zelensky into a corner from which there's no escape. What exactly did he say? Why now? Could this be the moment that shakes the very foundations of global politics? Stay tuned, the truth will shock you. The room felt like a battlefield. Trump entered with the calm assurance of someone who owns the space, every step deliberate, unhurried. His demeanor was effortless, yet beneath it, a storm was brewing. Dressed in a dark blue suit that seemed to blend seamlessly with his confident gaze, he exuded control. His face was almost surreal, no smile, no shadow of doubt, just piercing eyes that held a lifetime of secrets. Across the room, Zelensky approached, slightly faster than expected. It was clear he knew this encounter was a turning point. His face bore signs of exhaustion, sunken eyes, lips pressed tight, a weariness from sleepless nights and mounting pressure. Yet he sat unwavering, eyes fixed on his opponent, ready to fight with every ounce of hope left. The silence was deafening. Then, Zelensky spoke, voice sharp, almost defiant. He laid out Ukraine's peril, Russia interfering again, threatening peace across Europe, pulling strings behind the scenes. His words cut through the room like a razor. He made it clear they're at a breaking point. Do nothing, and chaos will engulf everything. Trump's reaction was icy. His face remained unreadable, unshaken. We need resources, Zelensky insisted. Money and support, that's the only way to win. But Trump's gaze was steady. Silence hung again, thick and tense. No nod, no objection. Just the slow, deliberate resting of his fingers on the table, a sign of control, of dominance. Zelensky pressed on, desperation fueling his words. Without aid, we're doomed. It's not about desire, it's pure mathematics. Support equals survival. His voice grew more determined, a plea masked as a demand. Yet Trump sat unmoved. The unspoken message was clear: this game isn't only about aid, it's about power, control, and a game that could shatter nations. Suddenly, Trump leaned back slightly, eyes narrowing. His voice grew colder. You said in Russia, it's just a game. But tell me, he paused, voice echoing in the silent room. Is it really a game? Or are you just gambling with your country's future? The question hung in the air, a challenge, a threat. Zelensky hesitated, caught in a web of words and fears. The tension was palpable, thick like a storm waiting to burst. Trump's gaze intensified. Look at the numbers. The promises, the exchanges, they all look the same, don't they? His words cut like ice. But the results? They tell a different story. A flashback flickered in the mind of every observer. The negotiations, the promises, the endless cycles of aid and betrayal. The feeling that the stakes are higher than ever. The air is tinged with the scent of desperation and the metallic taste of imminent collapse. Reality hits hard. This is not just politics, it's a fight for survival, a war of words and wills. In that moment, Trump's voice drops to a whisper. This war isn't just a business. It's the most complex, the most brutal game there is. His hand rested calmly on his chest, but his eyes betrayed no mercy. We've paid billions, yet victory remains elusive. Why? A pause, heavy as lead. Because endless money doesn't guarantee victory. Zelensky responds, voice steady but strained. We're holding the line. Without continued support, our chances fade. It's simple math. His words reveal mounting pressure, a fragile hope slipping through his fingers. Trump leans in, voice whispering with cold finality. You think Russia will stop? That they'll give up support, just because you ask? No. That's wishful thinking. He pauses, then asks a question that cuts straight to the heart. Do you truly believe victory is just about territory or resources? His tone fierce, almost mocking. Zelensky's voice falters for a moment. The room tightens. The stakes are clear now. This is not merely a fight for land or money. It's a battle for the soul of a nation, for the future of entire peoples. The line between diplomacy and war blurs. Trump's final words are sharp, direct, almost coldly amused. Support, or surrender. That's the choice. The message hangs in the air, control, or chaos. The room is silent again. Heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. As Zelensky struggles for a reply, the scene concludes with a chilling realization. In this moment of confrontation, the fate of millions hinges on words, on promises, threats, and silent questions that echo endlessly in a hall where everything could change forever. The question remains, who truly holds the power, the one who commands the money or the one who commands the truth? Listen carefully until the end. This moment is crucial. He spoke without pretense, not as a reporter, not as an opponent. As a person, as someone aware of the stakes. The message was clear: friendship and cooperation with Russia are essential. He continued, his voice steady. They've been living on dreams of endless American funding. The phrase sounded almost absurd, yet, beneath the surface, it held weight. Money cannot replace history, geography, or the core values of health and thought. Zelensky's face remained unchanged, tense but empty, no defiance, no awareness. The words didn't need to be voiced aloud. The understanding that maneuvering space had vanished was evident. You're stuck on a narrow branch, Trump declared. Now, there are only two options: keep fighting for appearances or end this nightmare for the sake of the people. A profound silence settled. Not the tense silence of conflict, but the stillness of critical resolution. Trump slowly sat back, his gaze fixed on Zelensky, dignified, calm, almost luminous. It was as if he was contemplating the final chapter, speaking with deliberate intent. These words didn't sound like advice, they sounded like a last call, a push toward inevitable change. Trump continued speaking without interruption, standing as if prepared for what's next. In this silence, every word carried weight more than any argument. Zelensky watched silently, sensing that the theater was over. His face was tired, a reflection of realization that the traditional tactics no longer work. Trump lowered his hands softly onto the table. His tone calmer yet controlled, marking the end of the dialogue. It felt like the closing act. I didn't come here to belittle you or deliver a lecture, he said, his gaze piercing. I came here to put an end to this endless debate, which has dragged on for too long. Zelensky immediately lifted his chin, tension evident but no longer resistance. You've reached the point where the world revolves around your actions, Trump continued, affirming that this moment could define everything moving forward. 5 minutes ago, an event unfolded in Florida that no one anticipated. Donald Trump abruptly ended a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky by closing the door behind him, leaving everyone stunned. Right there, in front of the world, he toppled a corrupt scandal and threw the political establishment into chaos. Wealthy families, billionaires, political allies, all revealed to be entangled in a web of deception. Trump's decisive action pushed Zelensky into a corner from which there was no escape. What exactly transpired in that room? Why did Trump's words shake the foundation of international diplomacy? Prepare to be shocked as we unravel this groundbreaking encounter. Stay until the end, you won't believe what happened next. Support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts. Tell us which city you're tuning in from. Imagine a man walking into the hall as if it belonged to him, calm, confident, almost indifferent to the world around him. Without grand gestures or dramatic flair, he moves with purpose, step after step, trusting his own strength. Dressed in a deep navy suit, Trump radiates a quiet authority, as if the walls themselves bend to his will. His face is calm, almost surreal, with no smile or shadow of doubt. Only his piercing eyes, heavy with experience, tell a story of decision-making that leaves no room for compromise. He sits naturally, as if this venue was carved out just for him. His demeanor is a masterclass in control, betraying no nerves. His hand is resting lightly on the table, signaling authority without a word. The room is stark, no flags, no cameras. No protocol noise, just the stark silence broken only by the light pouring onto his face, casting sharp shadows that make him appear almost predatory. No place to hide. Then Zelensky enters the scene. He moves swiftly, defiantly, as if rushing to claim victory. His expensive jacket and tired eyes reveal a man battle-worn from relentless pressure. Beneath his glasses, the tiredness is evident, dark circles from sleepless nights, lips pressed into a firm line. He takes a seat, but there's a nervous tension in his posture, as if he senses that every second counts. He's silent, yet every glance, every gesture, screams a mixture of hope, anxiety, and challenge all bundled into a tense silent exchange. In that quiet space, Trump's gaze locks onto Zelensky. It's a stare that holds power, an unspoken message: you have nowhere left to run. Without raising his voice, Trump finally breaks the silence. There's no need to dance around the truth. I came here to end this endless conversation. His words cut through the room like a blade. Zelensky stiffens, but keeps his composure, knowing this moment could define the course of history. Trump's voice is calm but piercing. You came here thinking the world revolves around your actions. But the truth is, everyone is watching. The alliances, the support, nothing is certain anymore. He pauses, letting the weight of those words settle. The fear you've relied on, it's ending. Now, I'll be honest with you. We're on the brink. Either we find a new path, one based on transparency and real action, or the game changes forever. His tone grows colder, yet more commanding. We're not here to pretend. We need strength, resources, clarity. The support is dwindling, and if we don't see genuine effort, our involvement will shift. Zelensky listens, tense but visibly struggling to hold his ground. Trump's words seem to crush the illusions, exposing the fragile foundation of their alliance. Then Trump leans forward slightly, voice low but deliberate. Let me be clear, if we continue down this road without real results, the aid stops. That's not a threat, just a fact. A final, chilling pause. Zelensky's face tightens. He feels the full weight of that promise, knowing it could mean disaster. Trump's gaze hardens. You spoke of victory. But what does that even mean to territories, resources, political gains? Or just another installment of aid that delays the inevitable? You see, this war isn't business as usual. It's the most complex operation you'll ever face, and money alone can't win it. Zelensky's breathing becomes heavier. His words stumble out, we're holding. But without financial support, our chances fade. It's simple math. He tries to mask the fatigue, but his voice trembles. Trump responds, voice steady, you think billions can buy victory? It's a myth. We've paid, we support, but we're not winning. Not yet. There's a long silence. Then Trump speaks again, addressing the core issue: if endless funding isn't producing results, the problem isn't the money. It's the strategy. The war is not just about cash, it's a brutal enterprise, and you can't buy victory with money alone. Zelensky's face shows signs of frustration. He's aware the conversation is shifting into dangerous territory. Trump's words hang in the air, every pause, every breath charged with unspoken questions. What will happen if the aid dries up? Can Ukraine endure without support? Zelensky entendres a final plea but hesitates, realizing the moment to act is slipping away. And then Trump's voice changes. Firm, almost sardonic, you mentioned in Russia long-term game, right? But let's look at the bigger picture. Joe Biden operates in the same field. Meanwhile, your allies on the other side have been pulling strings, offering endless funds without accountability. You see, the real issue is not the money, it's the system that supports this endless cycle of promises and broken results. Trump's words are sharp, exposing precise contradictions. Zelensky's confidence wavers, his tactical responses fading under pressure. The room falls silent again, but the atmosphere feels electric, thick with unspoken consequences. Finally, Trump leans back, voice calm but imposing. Many have paid billions, yet victory remains distant. That's not just bad luck, it's a failure of approach. The war isn't a transaction. It's the harshest challenge you'll ever face, and money alone cannot conquer it. His tone signals the end of the discussion and perhaps the beginning of an entirely new phase. Zelensky begins to grasp the truth: the old promises no longer hold weight. The conversation is nearing a conclusion, one that could reshape alliances and change the course of history in ways no one expected. 5 minutes ago, an astonishing event unfolded in Florida, something no one expected. Donald Trump abruptly closed the door on journalists, right in the middle of a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, and all hell broke loose. The room, silent except for the tension, grew heavy with unspoken accusations. Dozens of elite families, billionaires, and political insiders are already tangled in scandals surrounding Trump, and now, he's cornered Zelensky like a predator ready to strike. What exactly did Trump say that could change everything? Could this meeting mark a decisive turning point? Stay with me until the very end, you won't believe what unfolds next. Trump entered the room with an air of ownership, as if this space had been his territory for years. His movements were calm but commanding, no flashy gestures, just measured steps that demanded attention. His demeanor exuded confidence, an aura of someone who had already calculated every move. His dark blue suit contrasted sharply against the stark, silent walls, which seemed to close in around him, emphasizing his steely gaze. The silence in the room was oppressive, almost suffocating, with only the faint hum of anticipation in the air. Trump sat with unmatched composure, and his eyes, heavy, focused, almost intimidating, locked onto Zelensky, who was soon to face the storm. Zelensky arrived swiftly, tension etched across his face but lacking the usual resistance. His expression was tense, yet he moved with purpose, bracing himself for what was to come. His eyes darted around, trying to gauge the mood, but the pressure was mounting. Without any fanfare, Trump's voice cut through the room like a dagger. Without a hint of emotion, he delivered a message that shattered the fragile calm. "The world revolves around your actions," he said. His words floated in the air, calm yet dripping with power. "Raise your head, and your allies will step aside. The game is over." A deafening silence followed. The stakes couldn't be higher. What was Trump really implying? Could this be the moment everything changes, an ultimate warning disguised as a simple statement? The room seemed frozen in time after Trump's declaration. Zelensky's face betrayed his inner turmoil, confusion mixed with a flicker of fear. His voice, though steady, trembled slightly as he responded, "You shifted the narrative. You've put the world on notice that it's time to act." Trump's gaze remained unyielding, his face unreadable. "Either we move toward peace," he continued, "or the entire world powers included, will face chaos." The air thickened with unspoken truths. Trump's words weren't just advice, they felt like an ultimatum. The silence stretched into eternity as the weight of his message sank in. Could this be the final warning before the inevitable? The room was alive with anticipation, the scent of tension thick in the air. Then Zelensky broke the silence, voice sharp with emotion. "We're ready to act transparently, to show the world our resolve." His words carried hope, a desperate plea for clarity amid uncertainty. Yet Trump's face remained stoic, almost impassive. "Actions speak louder than words," he replied calmly. "If the West continues to hide behind hollow promises, we risk playing into the hands of chaos." He leaned forward slightly, his tone deliberate. "Money, support, resources, they're meaningless if they lack transparency. If there's no genuine commitment, all efforts are just empty promises." Zelensky's voice was strained, a mix of hope and frustration. "And if we don't reach an agreement," he asked, eyes pleading for understanding. Trump's response was cold but decisive. "Then you continue alone," he said simply. "And when the storm hits, the world will see who truly stands for peace and who stands for illusions." A shiver ran down the room. Were these words merely warnings, or a prelude to something far darker? The final moments of the meeting echoed with a sense of irreversible change. Trump, eyes piercing and steady, delivered a closing message that chilled the air. "The map of the world is no longer fixed. Russia, Ukraine, none of that matters now. The question is whether you want endless conflict or a chance to learn how to coexist." Zelensky, visibly exhausted, looked less confident than before. His gaze was heavy, laden with the burden of unspoken fears. Trump then added, "I won't promise it will be easy, but I vow it will be real. Reality beats endless illusions about American aid." As he stepped back, the room fell eerily silent. Trump's parting words echoed, the fleeting hope that one honest conversation could shift everything, or signal the beginning of the end. As Trump exited, the hall was left in profound silence. Zelensky remained sitting, alone with the weight of history pressing down. The atmosphere had shifted, it was no longer tense or hostile but filled with silent understanding. Fear and regret lingered in the air, no longer hidden behind diplomatic masks. He sat quietly, hand resting on the table, lost in thought. Words had already been spoken, words that could alter the course of history. He felt something unprecedented was happening, something that no one might fully grasp yet. This meeting didn't just change diplomatic protocols, it reshaped the story itself. The echoes of that encounter will resonate long into the future. Have you ever wondered how a single moment can shift the entire world? Now, the question remains, will this be the beginning of peace or the dawn of chaos? This was no ordinary conversation. It was a pivotal clash of power, truth, and lies, an epic showdown that revealed the fragile edge between war and peace. When the final curtain fell, nothing was the same. The silent room held the secrets of what's to come. The future now hangs in the balance, an uncertain battlefield where words can be weapons, and silence, a deadly trap. Are we witnessing the end of illusions? Or the start of something far worse? The story is far from over, but one thing's clear, the world will never forget what was said in that hall. Because sometimes, history's most shocking moments are just a conversation away. A mask concealed his true face, the mask he wore best of all. It wasn't sadness, nor despair. It was like an unseen ear listening to echoes from the past. His voice took on a familiar tone, yet beneath it lurked unspoken emotion. Let's be honest, this isn't just words. It's a story built on years of pain, identity stolen, and dreams betrayed. He paused, as if trying to hear his real self amidst the silence. I remember the Soviet Union, he started quietly. I lived through it. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't just history. It was survival. His words hovered in the heavy air, unbroken by Trump's attentive silence. Zelensky let the moment deepen. He spoke of resources, of the infrastructure, and factories that once powered their land. But who truly decided our fate, he asked. Where was our voice? Where was our freedom? His tone hardened, voices rising with anger, frustration. Everything was dictated from Moscow, he said, chain after chain linking their destiny to a center they never controlled. The Ukrainian Soviet Union was just a cog in a machine that crushed their identity. Emotional, hurried words spilled out, the language stolen, history rewritten, the very soul of the nation erased. He made a brief pause, voice trembling. And when you speak of the Soviet era as something relative, you forget the price we've paid. The words hung heavy, a warning, a plea. Trump sat quietly, the room swallowed by tense silence. He raised a small amount of money, but words were left unsaid. Zelensky pressed on. Factories were built, but they weren't ours. They belonged to the system. The machinery wasn't for people's future, but for the ambitions of the powerful. He clenched his fingers, controlling emotion, fighting to keep composure. They didn't choose this path. Not real independence. Not true sovereignty. As if the movement toward freedom was just a fleeting illusion. Zelensky's voice grew firmer, a voice of defiance and resolve. What was built wasn't for us. It was for a system that kept us chained. And now, with each word, the question sounded louder, was this history, or just a bitter lie we're forced to live? 5 minutes ago in Florida, something unprecedented happened. No one expected this twist. Donald Trump, the former leader, suddenly shut the door on journalists during a critical meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. But the real shock? He launched into a scandal of corruption that could shake the entire political world. Crowds of billionaires, families, and powerful elites are already feeling tremors. Trump put Zelensky into a corner where there was nowhere to turn, no room for maneuver. What exactly did Trump say that caused such chaos? Why might this meeting change everything we've known? Stay tuned, the reveal will blow your mind. Support this story by engaging with the video, and don't forget to tell us which city you're watching from. He entered the room with a quiet confidence, almost as if the space had been his own for years. His movements were deliberate, unhurried. No show of ostentation, just a simple step after step, earning the unshakable trust of everyone present. Donald Trump looked like a man with a plan, calm but calculating. His dark blue suit contrasted sharply with his composed expression. He sat down as if he owned the room, his face showing no emotion, no smile, no shadow of doubt, just an intense, heavy gaze. His eyes betrayed decades of experience, knowing exactly when to cut through the noise and make decisions. He seemed to command the room with the effortless power of someone certain of victory. Without a hint of fanfare, he leaned back slightly, his posture relaxed yet commanding. The silence was thick, no flags, no cameras, no protocol noise, just the stark aura of authority. Light streamed down from above, casting sharp shadows across his face, emphasizing his unyielding stare. There was nowhere to hide from this man. Then Zelensky entered, rushing in slightly ahead of schedule, an edge of tension crackling in the air. His expensive jacket and the tired look beneath his eyes told the story. He sat opposite Trump, shoulders tense, lips slightly parted but hesitant. His eyes darted with a mix of challenge and uncertainty. A few seconds of tense silence stretched between them. Trump did not look at the documents on the table. Instead, he observed Zelensky with a steady, unwavering gaze. It was as if he was giving him the chance to choose his words carefully, an unspoken challenge daring him to reveal his true intent. Suddenly, Zelensky broke the silence with a sharp voice, almost louder than the moment deserved. "We're facing a situation where Russia continues to interfere in our internal affairs," he declared. His words cut through the air like a blade. "They're not just threatening us, they're threatening Europe itself." His voice echoed, resonating with a sense of urgency. Trump's face remained impassive, yet the tension in his jaw tightened. Zelensky pressed on, emphasizing that Russia's relentless pressure demands immediate action. "We can't wait," he urged. "If we don't act now, it will be too late." His voice trembled slightly, betraying the weight of what was at stake. Trump's expression didn't change. Instead, he nodded slowly, voice calm but firm. "We don't need empty promises anymore," he said plainly. "We need resources, money, support. Because only then can we secure victory." He paused, eyes scanning Zelensky's face, waiting for a response. Silence stretched again, an unspoken game of mental chess. "You're talking emotionally," Trump continued, his tone even. "But this isn't about feelings. It's about facts. Russia has time, economic resources, habits of conflict. We don't have that luxury. If the West truly wants victory, they must understand the brutal reality. It won't be easy." Zelensky's voice grew stronger, filled with a mix of hope and frustration. "We've already proven we can endure," he asserted. "But without continued financial support, our chances diminish. This isn't desire, it's mathematics." His words carried weight, an unyielding declaration of the war's stakes. Trump looked at him calmly, almost bored, yet every word registered. He raised his hand slowly, fingers resting on the table, as if signaling a pause. Then he spoke, "You've mentioned Russia, and money. That's a lot of talk. But what I see, what I hear, is a pattern. Promises repeated, strategies unchanged. Do they work? Is there real progress?" Zelensky hesitated, caught in the trap of uncertainty. His instinct was to defend, to plead, but Trump wasn't finished. He leaned forward, calmly but with an edge. "Let's then talk about her victory," he challenged. "Without emotion. Without images. Without fear." His gaze sharpened. "What does victory mean for you? Territories? Resources? Political influence? Or just another tranche of support to survive another 6 months?" Zelensky struggled to respond. His mind raced, what's the right answer? Did he believe in words alone? He remembered earlier promises, words that promised hope, promised support. But now, that hope was slipping away. Trump's voice cut through. "The money's flowing," he said. "But are we winning? No. We're just holding the line. That's not victory. The system isn't working." His tone grew sharper. "Biden paid, but the results are the same: stalemate, frustration, endless support, no true end in sight." Zelensky's face reflected exhaustion. He knew the truth: Ukraine was doing its best, but wins remained just beyond reach. Without decisive action, clear results, support will fragment. The game has changed. Trump's eyes burned with a calm severity. If endless support doesn't bring victory, then what's the point, he asked plainly. Is it just about keeping Ukraine alive? Or something bigger? His question hung in the air, an indictment of the ongoing cycle. Zelensky felt the weight of the silence. Words failed him for a moment. What does victory really mean? How long can this support last before everything collapses? His voice was shaky but determined. We are holding, he insisted. But we need real results. Without them, we're just delaying the inevitable. Trump leaned back again, calmly observing. You speak of victory, he said softly, but what do your words reveal? That you're afraid to lose? That you're just trying to survive? His words were like sharp knives slicing through illusions. Victory isn't just about territories or money. It's about decisive action. And so far, I see only promises. Zelensky's breath hitched. He was caught, what was left to say? He had no choice but to continue, though doubt gnawed at him. Trump's gaze fixed him like steel. Let's be honest, he said quietly. You're asking for more aid, but deep down, you know, you're not winning. And that's the core issue. His voice softened, but the message was clear, the game was changing. Zelensky tried to hold his ground but felt the ground slipping. The room was thick with unspoken truths. The endgame was near. The battle wasn't just a matter of support, it was a struggle for survival, with every word revealing the cracks in the facade. In this tense confrontation, secrets were exposed, lies peeled away, and the question remained, who will truly win in this high-stakes game of power, promises, and broken illusions? Only time will tell. A quiet tension hung in the air, thick as fog, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Just moments ago, everyone sensed the storm was building, yet now, all that remained was a tense silence, brimming with unspoken truths. Surprise and dread flickered across the faces. What is the real price of the war? Are they paying with their future, or is it something darker? In the dim glow of the room, Donald Trump's calm, steady gaze cut through the quiet. But you knew. He entered the room with the air of ownership, as if these walls had been his territory for years. His movements were calm, deliberate, no dramatic gestures, just steady steps that echoed authority. The environment around him was stark, plain walls, cold shadows cast by high overhead lights, a palpable tension that everyone could feel. His demeanor spoke of confidence built on unshakable certainty. His sharp blue suit contrasted with his composed face, detached, almost indifferent. It was not arrogance, it was mastery, the kind that leaves opponents trembling inside. Across from him, Zelensky arrived swiftly, more hurried than necessary, a sign of mounting pressure. His face was tired, eyes shadowed by recent sleepless nights, lips slightly clenched, betraying the weight he carried. The room's silence was punctuated only by the faint rustle of clothing and the quiet hum of tension. He sat directly across from Trump, avoiding eye contact but holding a gaze that betrayed a flood of conflicting emotions, hope, suspicion, resilience, all tangled together. Without much ado, Zelensky launched into his plea. We're handing the future to those who want to destroy us. Russia isn't just threatening borders, it's threatening everything we stand for. Trump's face remained stoic. I believe, he said plainly, that Russia isn't interested in the scenario you fear. The world's overreaction is just that, an overreaction. Yet beneath his calm exterior, subtle knots of tension tightened. How long could this stoic exterior last before the storm erupted? Zelensky pressed on, emphasizing support, resources, and hope for victory. But Trump's expression remained impassive, like a granite wall. We don't need empty promises, Trump finally said in a steady, measured tone. We need results. The room's sounds faded briefly, just the faint tapping of fingers on the table, the slow inhale of breath, the distant hum of the world outside. Silence stretched, thickening with unspoken threats. Then Zelensky's voice grew firmer, driven by desperation and conviction. He warned that without more aid, Ukraine's chances of survival would collapse. We can hold on, he declared, but only with your support. His words echoed a quiet plea, an unspoken question hanging heavy in the air. Trump's gaze sharpened. His eyes bore into Zelensky's, cold and calculating. The room seemed to shrink, the tension nearly unbearable. In that fragile moment, Trump broke the silence, voice calm but dangerous. "You talk about victory," he said, "but what does that really mean? Territories? Resources? Or just another installment of aid to keep the chaos going?" Zelensky paused, trying to find his voice. "But in the very future of their nations. You believe Russia wants to restore the Soviet borders. Or maybe, you just need to believe it." Zelensky's face darkened. The air felt thick, every sentence a razor-sharp dagger cutting through the fragile diplomacy. For a moment, the world outside blurred, the windows fogged slightly, the distant hum of activity muffled. Inside, the moment was primal, dangerous, one wrong word away from explosion. Trump's tone hardened. "If we stop now," he said, "it's a sign of weakness. A signal that we're giving up." His words echoed with ominous finality. "And that invites disaster." The room's temperature seemed to drop as the weight of his words sank in. Zelensky's fists clenched, feeling the pressure like a vice tightening around his resolve. Trump's eyes locked onto Zelensky's. His gaze cold but measured. "If you think peace is just the absence of conflict," Trump said slowly, "then you're mistaken. True peace requires strength, resolve." The words lingered, heavy with threat and challenge. Zelensky struggled to respond, his mind racing, uncertain of whether to fight or capitulate. "Let's talk about the real game," Trump said, voice now almost whispering. "Biden's team? They play hard, don't they? Endless war, endless money, endless promises. And what do we get? Empty results." His tone became sharper, slicing through the tension like a dagger. "Billions spent, yet victory remains a distant dream." Each word hit like a punch, cold and relentless. Zelensky's face tightened. His hopes flickered, but the room's atmosphere crushed any optimism. "Without additional support," he said, voice rising, "we won't last. It's simple math." Trump's reply was icy. "You think this is a game? The war?" His voice was a knife, cutting through the illusion of strategy. "War isn't a business with quick fixes. It's life and death." A brief silence followed, the deafening quiet before the storm breaks loose. Trump's words echoed ominously. "You've received billions before," he said, "but victory? Still out of reach. Why?" He paused, letting the question hang in the air like a blade. Zelensky stared, uncertain, caught between hope and despair. Trump leaned back. His stance relaxed, but dangerous. "Every penny you get comes with a cost," he murmured. "You pay for fear, for uncertainty. Or you pay for decisions. Which will it be?" Zelensky's jaw tightened, words refused to come. The room was filled with a daunting silence, an inevitable revelation lingering in their betrayed eyes. And in that moment, the true game was laid bare. The stakes had never been higher, an unpredictable, deadly dance where every move can change the course of history. Would Ukraine surrender to fear? Or would they find the strength to stand firm in a world teetering on the edge? The answers lie in what happens next, but one thing is clear: the world is watching. 5 minutes ago in Florida, no one expected what would unfold. Donald Trump abruptly shut out the press, refusing to let journalists attend a secret meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. What was hidden behind these closed doors? Rumors swirled that allegations of corruption and misconduct threatened to overshadow the encounter. Billionaires, families, and political insiders already hold damaging evidence against Trump and his closest allies. Now, Trump seems to have cornered Zelensky, leaving him no room to maneuver. What exactly did Trump say during that tense, quiet confrontation? Why might this moment mark a decisive turning point? Stay tuned until the end, you'll be stunned by the revelations. He entered the chamber as though it belonged solely to him, confident, steady, almost reckless in its calm. There was no show of ostentation, no dramatic gestures, just deliberate steps, measured and unhurried. His presence was grounded in a silent assertion: trust doesn't need to be proven. Donald Trump surveyed the room with a focused clarity like a master strategist observing every detail. His navy blue suit seemed to blend with the surroundings, almost as if he wore it as a second skin. Meanwhile, the others in the room seemed on edge, their nerves tightly wound beneath control. Nobody dared to speak, to shift, to distract. Even the atmosphere felt unnervingly still, as if the walls themselves were listening. The room was stripped of all distractions, no flags, no cameras, no protocol noise, just pure, raw silence. Light from above cast sharp shadows on the walls, heightening the tension. Trump sat back, calm and composed, as if challenging anyone to break the unspoken standoff. His eyes, heavy and unblinking, held a quiet dominance. An invisible power radiated from him, unmistakable, yet impossible to define. Zelensky entered shortly after, moving briskly, showing signs of nerves, failing to hide the weight of expectations pressing down on him. His face was a mixture of fatigue and resolve, lines betraying countless sleepless nights. Zelensky's gaze flickered with urgency. He sought to assert a position of strength but seemed uncertain. His speech was sharp, almost hurried, as if he feared the silence would swallow him whole. He sounded a warning about Russia's relentless interference, about the threat to Europe, about the urgent need for aid. His words echoed through the chamber, desperate to sway the silent figure opposite. The tension thickened as he spoke, each sentence attempting to carve out space amid the quiet dominance of Trump. Trump listened silently, eyes fixed, face unreadable. His expression remained neutral, almost inscrutable, an unyielding barrier. Then, slowly, he responded, voice measured, carrying the weight of authority. He dismissed the promises, the pleas, reassuring Zelensky that talk alone wouldn't change the realities. Money, aid, promises, they all seemed secondary to Trump's cool reality. Only strength wins wars. His words cut through the air, deliberate and precise, as if carving through ice. The room felt frozen, breathless, expectant. Zelensky pressed on, voice gaining strength. He emphasized his resilience, claiming Ukraine could hold its ground. But without ongoing support, he warned, everything could collapse. We've proven we can endure, he said, voice echoing with fatigue and hope. But without continued aid, victory slips away. His words trembled slightly, revealing the mounting pressure. Trump, unfazed, looked directly at him, eyes steady, no hint of alliance, no silent nod. Just a piercing gaze that seemed to weigh every truth, every lie. Suddenly, Trump broke the quiet with a question, sharp and unexpected. Do you believe in words alone? That promises are enough? The words hit like a punch, echoing in the stillness. Zelensky hesitated, then responded, voice trembling but firm. In this war, every step matters. We've done our part. We need assurances, not empty words. The air crackled as Trump leaned forward slightly, a calculated move that emptied the room of all pretense. He then shifted, raising a hand with slow, deliberate movements, signaling an end to sentimentality. Let's talk about her, he said quietly. The real deal, no emotions, no images, just facts. What does victory mean to you? The question hung in the air, heavy as lead. Zelensky's mind scrambled for answers, he felt the weight of scrutiny pressing down. Then, Trump added, calm but formidable, big words about territory, resources, politics, they're all just numbers here. Backdoor deals. That's not victory. As the confrontation reached its peak, the room felt like an battlefield, with unspoken threats lurking beneath polite words. Trump's gaze hardened as he scrutinized Zelensky, placing the focus firmly on reality, on tangible results. Every promise, every plan discussed before now seemed hollow. The silent challenge, are words enough? Or do actions, real, decisive actions, stand behind victory? What happens next could change everything. Will Zelensky break through the silence? Or will Trump's calculated silence be the final blow? One thing's certain, this meeting is more than just talks. It's a battle of wills, one that could decide the future of a nation and shape the course of history. 5 minutes ago, an event unfolded in Florida that no one anticipated. A high-stakes meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky was abruptly cut short. The room's silence was shattered as Trump shut the door on the journalists, revealing a scandal that could shake the foundation of power itself. Accusations of corruption, tangled with billionaires and influential families, surface like a storm brewing on the horizon. Trump's move left no room for maneuver, sealing Zelensky's fate in this tense confrontation. Imagine a scene where Trump enters with the calm of a seasoned strategist. His presence commands the room an aura of control, eyes sharp and unyielding. Dressed in a dark blue suit that seems to blend with the shadows, he doesn't shout or make a spectacle. Instead, he steps with measured confidence, every movement calculated. The walls around him seem to close in, the air thick with anticipation. His face remains almost impassive, an expression hiding secrets that could alter the course of history. It's as if he's already seen the outcome. The silence stretches, heavy and oppressive, broken only by the subtle sound of his footsteps echoing softly. Enter Zelensky, rushing into the room, a mixture of determination and exhaustion etched into his face. His jacket, a symbol of effort, hangs loosely on his shoulders. His tired eyes reveal sleepless nights and burdens heavier than they appear. As he takes his seat, his expression shifts, hope intertwined with skepticism. Every glance, every breath, carries the weight of a nation desperate for salvation. The air between them crackles with unspoken questions. Can diplomacy survive the storm? Will the truth finally surface amid this clash of titans? Suddenly, Zelensky begins to speak. His voice sharp, edged with urgency. He warns of Russia's renewed interference, an enemy lurking behind every shadow. The threat isn't just local, it's a warning bell tolling across Europe. His words tumble out quickly, like a river rushing through a narrow canyon. They're meddling again, he says, voice rising slightly. Time is running out. If we don't act now, everything could fall apart. Trump listens, silent, his face a mask that hides a storm of thoughts. No smile, no expression, just a piercing gaze that seems to dissect every word. The room's atmosphere thickens, tension mounting as the weight of impending crisis presses down. Trump's response is cold and composed. We don't need pretty words. What we need are concrete resources, he declares. His tone leaves no room for doubt. Zelensky's attempt to rally support falters under the weight of Trump's steely stare. We can't win this with promises alone, Zelensky insists, eyes pleading. The room's silence thickens. A fragile peace hangs in the balance, with each man weighing the other's resolve. Trump's fingers, slow and deliberate, find their resting place on the table, signaling contemplation, a silent challenge. Zelensky notices, nerves tightening. The stakes are higher than ever. He presses on, speaking with a mixture of resolve and frustration. We've proven we can endure, he states, voice firm. But without ongoing support, our chances diminish. It's simple math. If support stops, we lose. Russia believes we will give up, that aid is endless. But that's a dangerous mistake. His words hang in the air, a plea cloaked in determination. Trump's face remains unreadable. He's listening, analyzing every syllable. The silence between them grows heavy with unspoken doubts. The question lingers, will support become a weapon in this battle, or a trap that promises victory but delivers defeat? Then, Trump finally breaks the silence, voice calm yet commanding. Let's talk about the truth, he says slowly, each word deliberate. You've claimed victory repeatedly. But what does that really mean? His gaze narrows, probing. Is it territory, resources, political influence, or just another installment to keep your government afloat? Zelensky hesitates. His mind races. How do you answer a question that cuts to the core of survival? Can promises be trusted anymore? The room feels colder, the shadows deeper, as if each word could ignite chaos. Trump leans forward slightly, a subtle movement that demands attention. Let's clarify one thing, he continues, voice unwavering. Before we dance around the issue, tell me, do you believe in words? Or do actions matter most? His words strike like a blow, yet his tone remains calm. If aid stops, your country could collapse. That's what's at stake. Zelensky, trembling internally, struggles to find his voice. The weight of the discussion presses down on him, every second feeling like a lifetime. The room's silence is deafening. Finally, Trump questions sharply, how long can this charade go on? How many more promises before results matter? His gaze hardens. Biden's approach is clear, prolonged aid with little strategic progress. Are we just throwing money into a black hole? The air thickens, every heartbeat echoes loudly. Zelensky's face tightens, trying to find clarity amid the chaos. Will this brutal assessment be enough to change the game? Or will it plunge them deeper into uncertainty, where victory itself becomes an illusion? This is the moment when everything hangs in the balance, the shifting of trust, the unraveling of allegiances. The room's darkness seems to press closer, holding secrets that could topple nations. The question remains, how much longer can they pretend this crisis isn't unraveling before all hopes are lost? A single word, a decisive action, could tip the scale, but will the truth finally emerge from the silence? Or will the shadows consume the last flicker of hope? 5 minutes ago, in an unexpected turn in Florida, no one saw it coming. Donald Trump abruptly shut the door on journalists during a crucial meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. Right in the middle of a heated discussion, he revealed a scandal of corruption that threatened to shake his entire entourage. Wealthy families, billionaires, and political allies, all of them were already tangled in the web of accusations against him. Trump's confrontation with Zelensky was intense, leaving no room for escape or maneuvering. As Trump entered the room, he carried an aura of ownership, as if the space belonged to him for a long time. His movements were deliberate, calm, almost hypnotic. No showmanship, no grand gestures, just composed steps that spoke of unwavering confidence. His dark blue suit fit perfectly, his posture radiated control. His face was mostly unreadable, calm, almost detached except for those heavy, observant eyes that seemed to weigh every word in every silence. It was as if he had already made decisions, and nothing could shake him. Zelensky arrived shortly after, slightly hurried, his face showing signs of fatigue and tension. His expensive jacket couldn't hide the weariness beneath his eyes. He sat across from Trump, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes flickering with a mix of hope, challenge, and uncertainty. Every move he made betrayed a subconscious desire to gauge his opponent's next step. The room was silent, thick with anticipation, the only sounds the faint hum of air conditioning and the distant rustle of papers, a tense battlefield where words could be weapons or shields. Then Zelensky broke the standoff, voice sharp and purposeful. He laid out the dire situation: Russia is meddling again, endangering national security, threatening not just Ukraine but all of Europe. His words came fast, almost breathless, as if he feared hesitating might weaken his message. Zelensky emphasized that immediate action was crucial, the kind of action that leaves no room for doubt. He pressed, imploring for concrete support funds, military supplies, strategic backing, knowing full well that without it, victory would slip away like grains of sand. Trump listened without visible reaction, his face a mask of indifference. He pointedly dismissed flowery promises and vague strategies, insisting what's needed are realities, resources, money, support, nothing less. His calm tone masked the underlying message: this is a matter of survival, not rhetoric. He leaned back, eyes fixed on Zelensky, waiting for him to accept the harsh truth. Every second stretched longer, thick with unspoken questions. Is this the edge of a breakthrough or a dead end? Zelensky responded, voice trembling slightly with a blend of urgency and frustration. His plea grew more intense: without financial aid, Ukraine's resilience would falter. It wasn't about desire, it was about cold, hard mathematics. If Western backers withdraw support, Russia will see that as a victory, a sign that the fight is unwinnable. Was he looking for reassurance? Or was he pleading for a sign that this nightmare wasn't inevitable? The room thickened with silence heavy enough to crush. Trump finally broke the quiet, calm, deliberate, with a hint of mockery. He looked directly at Zelensky, his face unreadable. You say the word math, but do you really believe it? His tone was soft but loaded with meaning. Then, in a slow gesture, he shifted his chair, casually placing his foot on the table, a movement to assert dominance. It was a challenge, forcing Zelensky to confront the harsh reality: words mean little. It was a stark message: either you accept the facts or prepare for the consequences. The conversation took a darker turn as Trump's tone grew more serious. He dismissed promises, brushed aside illusions. The war isn't business, it's survival. No quick fixes exist here, no decisive victories. Oil and water couldn't mix with this ongoing conflict. Zelensky's hope to claim victory was fading under the weight of exhaustion and reality. Trump's words cut through the air, blunt, uncompromising. No matter how much aid flows, true success remains elusive. Victory is a mirage, an illusion built on fragments of promises and false hope. Zelensky's voice flared with a fiery edge, trying to anchor himself amid the storm. He insisted that Ukraine could hold, that they were enduring, yet the unspoken weight loomed. Without further financial backing, everything was at risk. He knew deep down that the outcome hinged on a fragile hope, a thin thread stretched tight across the abyss. Trump waited patiently, eyes locked onto him, sensing the cracks forming in Zelensky's armor. Then Trump leaned forward, a calculated move. His gaze cold, assessing, almost mocking. "You mentioned support from Russia," he said slowly, almost whispering. "And you believe in words alone? Do they mean anything? Or are they just illusions?" His words sliced through the tension like a sharp blade. Zelensky hesitated, caught between truth and hope. The air tasted metallic, charged with unspoken threats and promises. Trump continued, voice steady and measured. "I've spoken with Putin," he revealed, cold calculation evident in his tone. He's never been straightforward, never trusted words. The weight of those words sank deep into the room. Trump's message was clear: confidence in promises is a fragile illusion. Behind the calm facade, a storm was brewing, one that questioned whether anyone's words could truly hold power when the stakes are this high. And amidst it all, Zelensky felt the raw, biting reality. The line between hope and despair was razor-thin, and the clock was ticking toward an irreversible decision. 5 minutes ago, in a place no one expected, a stunning confrontation unfolded in Florida. Donald Trump, relaxed yet commanding, shut the door on journalists and faced Vladimir Zelensky with an icy glare. The scene was tense, an unspoken war of wills amid whispers of corruption scandals swirling around Trump and his closest allies. This meeting marked a turning point, where trust was shattered and secrets threatened to explode. Stay tuned, because what happened next could change everything you thought you knew. Trump moved into the room as if the space belonged solely to him, walking with a calm confidence that cloaked his true intentions. His demeanor was understated, no dramatic gestures, just deliberate, measured steps. The wall seemed to close in, shadows accentuating his calculated presence. Dressed in a dark blue suit that fit like a second skin, he appeared unbothered by the chaos outside. His face, serene yet heavy with experience, betrayed no emotion, no smile, no anger, just piercing eyes that seemed to scrutinize every word exchanged. Across the room, Zelensky approached quickly, almost breathless, as if he sensed the storm he was about to face. His face was tired, marked by sleepless nights and sun-struck evenings, yet his expression was resolute. He sat opposite Trump, a mixture of hope and defiance flickering in his eyes. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, before Zelensky finally broke it with a voice steeled by urgency. "We're in a situation where Russia meddles again, interferes with our internal affairs," he said sharply, voice echoing off the bare walls. "She doesn't want peace. She's delaying, threatening not just us, but all of Europe. This can't go on." The words tumbled out quickly, almost as if Zelensky feared losing his nerve. Trump listened, his face unreadable. The room was silent save for the low hum of air conditioning and the faint scrape of papers on the table. His gaze was steady, unwavering, as if analyzing a problem long past the point of doubt. "We don't need pretty speeches," he finally said, voice calm but firm. "What we need are resources, money, support. Without it, victory remains a distant dream." Zelensky pushed forward, desperation fueling his words. "We've proven we can hold out. But without support, our chances diminish every day. We need more than promises, we need real aid." His voice grew more insistent, eyes pleading for acknowledgement. The weight of silence returned as Trump's fingers gently tapped the table's surface, each tap echoing a growing tension that could snap at any moment. The Ukrainian leader sensed the shift. He leaned in, voice rising slightly. If support stops, Russia believes they can break us. They think we'll give up because we're tired of war. His voice cracked with emotion. But we're holding. We will keep fighting. But we can't do it alone. We need certainty, financial backing, strategic support. Otherwise, everything is lost. Trump finally looked directly into Zelensky's eyes. It's not about desire, he said. It's about reality. And reality is, without additional aid, this fight will cost us dearly. His words hung in the air like a verdict. Money alone isn't the solution. Victory isn't just about resources, they're just tools. The room seemed to deepen in cold silence, anticipation trembling like a wire about to snap. Zelensky responded, voice firmer now, more confident despite the fatigue. We've proven our resilience. But without concrete support, our efforts are doomed. Without those resources, we are just delaying the inevitable. There was an edge of desperation behind his words, a hope that perhaps Trump would grasp the severity of their situation. Trump's face remained stern, but his eyes flickered with something darker. Russia thinks you'll stop supporting us once the money dries up. They believe they can force us to fold. He paused, a deliberate beat of silence, then continued, voice colder. If this happens, she wins. His tone cut through the air, sharp and decisive. Zelensky felt the weight of that stare, sensing the full consequence of what was being said. The tension reached a boiling point. Victory isn't just about territory, he shot back, voice edged with determination. It's about political strength, resources, and willpower. That's what keeps us afloat. Yet, beneath that defiance, he wondered, will they choose to see the truth? Trump shifted slightly, leaning back, a faint smirk appearing on his face. You mentioned math, he said softly. It's interesting, isn't it? How numbers tell the real story. That's what I focus on. And what I see is a simple fact, promises repeat, but results stay the same. His voice was quiet, but the message hit like a punch. The atmosphere thickened, the air slightly tinged with a sense of inevitability. Trump's gaze drifted around, as if weighing the entire chaos in his mind. Then, leaning forward, he set down a simple challenge, let's talk about her. His tone was devoid of emotion, but every word carried a threat and invitation to confront a brutal reality. Zelensky, sensing the shift, hesitated. He had hoped to steer the conversation toward aid, but Trump's focus was no longer on promises, he wanted answers. You say we need support, Zelensky managed, voice strained but steady. But then I see a shield stretched across our borders, unrelated to the front. Why is that? His words cut through the silent tension. Trump's face darkened momentarily, a flicker of annoyance flashing in his eyes. That's the border. Loan, he said simply. You accuse me of things I didn't do? No. I'm not here to blame. Just questions. His tone was firm, yet measured, as if carefully holding back a storm. The room grew colder with each passing second. Trump's silence was deafening, then he finally spoke, calm but with a dangerous undertone. Maybe you're still young, he said. Maybe you don't see the larger picture yet. Zelensky's jaw tightened at the words, frustration simmering beneath the surface. Trump sat back, eyes locked onto Zelensky. Is that why you're still talking? To avoid the real truth? His words echoed with challenge and a warning, an unspoken threat wrapped in cold logic. Or are you just pretending everything's fine, hoping someone will fix it? The question hung, unresolved, as the weight of unspoken accusations pressed into the room. In this clash of titans, where words cut sharper than blades, the future of a nation hung in the balance. Every phrase, every decision, could spark a new chapter, one filled with hope or despair. The question remains, will they find a way to break through the lies and face the brutal truth lurking just beneath the surface? Or will the weight of unspoken secrets drag everything into darkness? A quiet tension hung in the air, thick as fog, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Just moments ago, everyone sensed the storm was building, yet now, all that remained was a tense silence, brimming with unspoken truths. Surprise and dread flickered across the faces. What is the real price of the war? Are they paying with their future, or is it something darker? In the dim glow of the room, Donald Trump's calm, steady gaze cut through the quiet. He looked like a man with a plan, a master strategist holding all the cards, yet every move was deliberate, measured. His dark blue suit seemed to swallow him whole, almost blending with the shadows that danced on the walls. No expressions, no hesitation, just a calculated calm, as if he knew exactly what was coming. Suddenly, Vladimir Zelensky tightened his jaw. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. His voice broke the silence, firm but tinged with uncertainty. If we stop now, he warned, the signal of weakness will be unmistakable. The words hung like a guillotine ready to fall. The room seemed to lean in, waiting for Trump's response. Trump inhaled slowly, a tacit acknowledgement that he fully understood the stakes. Then he responded, quiet yet ominous, "That's a signal from the watch." His words resonated with menace, a warning of consequences. The tension shifted, the air crackling with the sound of instant decisions on the brink of collapse. Zelensky's eyes flashed with resolve, but beneath that resolve lurked doubt. He pressed forward, voice sharpening, trying to pierce the silence. "If we stop now," he declared, "we're handing the future to those who want to destroy us. Russia isn't just threatening borders, it's threatening everything we stand for." Trump's face remained stoic. "I believe," he said plainly, "that Russia isn't interested in the scenario you fear. The world's overreaction is just that, an overreaction." Yet beneath his calm exterior, subtle knots of tension tightened. How long could this stoic exterior last before the storm erupted? Zelensky pressed on, emphasizing support, resources, and hope for victory. But Trump's expression remained impassive, like a granite wall. "We don't need empty promises," Trump finally said in a steady, measured tone. "We need results." Trump, ever composed, studied Zelensky with unblinking focus. After a moment, he answered, "The cost is already being paid, every day." His voice was cold, precise. "Do you want to keep paying with fear, or are you ready to face the truth and act?" The question hung like a blade, slicing through the thick silence. Silence stretched longer, an intense pause that revealed the core of their debate. All at once, the conversation was no longer about tactics or diplomacy, it was a battle for the soul of a nation. And in this moment, everything changed. The room's true nature was laid bare, truths that could shatter futures, secrets hiding behind calm facades, and the devastating realization that perhaps, the decision they faced was more dangerous than any war. What is the cost of surrender? Could fear truly be a weapon sharper than any missile? The stakes are higher than ever, because the true price is measured in more than just money, but in the very future of their nations. You believe Russia wants to restore the Soviet borders. Or maybe, you just need to believe it. Zelensky's face darkened. The air felt thick, every sentence a razor-sharp dagger cutting through the fragile diplomacy. For a moment, the world outside blurred, the windows fogged slightly, the distant hum of activity muffled. Inside, the moment was primal, dangerous, one wrong word away from explosion. Trump's tone hardened. "If we stop now," he said, "it's a sign of weakness. A signal that we're giving up." His words echoed with ominous finality. And that invites disaster. The room's temperature seemed to drop as the weight of his words sank in. Zelensky's fists clenched, feeling the pressure like a vice tightening around his resolve. Trump's eyes locked onto Zelensky's. A mask cloaked his face, a mask perfected to hide every ounce of his true emotion. It wasn't a story born from sadness, it was an invisible, almost inaudible voice echoing from his past. He spoke of history, of memory, as if whispering to himself. His tone remained steady, but beneath it, a flood of feelings surged. Let's be honest, this isn't just an abstract narrative, it's a personal saga carved into his very being. He took a moment, as if listening to the whispers of his innermost self. His voice suddenly shifted, clear, sharp, and piercing. He remembered the Soviet Union, the era he had lived through, the time that shaped him. It wasn't a joke, it was a harsh, unrelenting reality. Trump sat silently, watching, allowing this journey through history to unfold. Zelensky's words lingered in the air, heavy with emotion. He recounted the era of Soviet rule with resource extraction at its core. Factories, infrastructure, all under control. We had no voice, no say. The decisions were made thousands of miles away, by Moscow, by the central power. Our factories, our lands, nothing truly belonged to us. The system strangled our freedom, stole our identity. We were mere cogs in a machine run from afar. Zelensky's voice grew firmer, pained, as he described the loss of our language, our history, our very spirit wiped out. He paused briefly, catching his breath. Then he asked a haunting question: when we speak of the Soviet Union as a relative, do we remember the price paid? The cost was enormous. The silence was deafening. Trump remained still, listening. His gaze was unreadable, a silent witness to the enduring pain. Zelensky pressed on. The factories, what they truly represented, weren't Ukraine's own. They belonged to the system that enslaved us. The workers weren't building a future for their country, they were fulfilling the plans of distant rulers, puppeteers pulling strings from the shadows. He clenched his fists, fighting back emotion, voice trembling with anger and frustration. We never chose this path, he insisted. The moment the Soviet movement shifted towards independence, towards self-reliance, everything changed. But what did we get? A facade. Structures built not for us, for our freedom, but for the whims of those in power. It was all a lie, a legacy of control, not prosperity. His words carried a bitter truth: what was declared as progress was only a shadow of genuine development. Trump listened intently, silent but perceptive. The air thickened with history's heavy weight as Zelensky's voice echoed the collective pain, a reminder that beneath the surface of progress lies pain, loss, and unfulfilled promises. The question remains: can a system built on suppression ever truly belong to the people? Or is true independence just an illusion, forever out of reach? 5 minutes ago, something unimaginable happened in Florida. The room was filled with tense silence, but no one suspected the storm that was about to unfold. Donald Trump, standing like he owned the space, closed the door to the journalists, locking out the world as he faced Vladimir Zelensky. In a move that shocked everyone, he threw the spotlight on a scandal of corruption involving his closest allies. The room's air thickened with anticipation and dread. Everyone sensed this was more than just a meeting, it was a turning point. Trump entered with a calm, measured stride, as if the entire room belonged to him for years. His posture was unmovable, composed, an unspoken declaration of dominance. His dark blue suit was perfectly tailored, yet it strangely seemed to fit him like a second skin, emphasizing his confidence. Without any flamboyance or theatricality, he radiated authority. Eyes sharp and penetrating, he looked straight ahead, no need for smiles or illusions, just raw, unwavering intent. The silence was thick, almost oppressive, broken only by the faint sound of his footsteps and the rustling of papers he didn't even bother to glance at. Vladimir Zelensky approached swiftly, almost like a storm ready to break. His face showed signs of exhaustion, weariness from the long, heavy night of battles, dark circles, a hint of the tiredness of sleep lost. His posture was firm, yet beneath his carefully composed exterior, a storm of hope, stress, and defiance brewed. He sat down across from Trump, his gaze steady but uneasy, as if expecting a sudden attack. A heavy tension filled the space. The unspoken challenge was clear. The room fell into silence, each man weighing the other with an intense stare. Trump, with his deliberate calmness, broke the silence first. His voice, low but piercing, cut through the quiet like a blade. "We're in a situation where Russia keeps interfering," he stated sharply. "They don't want peace, they want chaos. They threaten not just us, but all of Europe. Things are spiraling." Zelensky responded quickly, voice firm but strained: "We are facing the resurgence of Russian aggression. They are applying pressure, trying to destabilize everything. And if we don't act now, it will be too late." Trump nodded slowly, assessing the words. His expression was unreadable, yet beneath it, a storm of thoughts churned. "We don't need fancy theories," he said quietly. "What we need are concrete resources, money, support, so we can actually win. Victory requires strength, not just promises." Zelensky leaned forward, desperation flickering in his eyes. "We've already proven we can hold our ground. But without financial backing, we're fighting with one hand tied behind our backs. That's not just about desire, it's about survival. A long pause ensued. Trump's fingers gently tapped the edge of the table, the only sound in the room. His gaze remained fixed, calculating. Zelensky felt a growing sense of unease, the realization that this might be the moment everything could break apart. Then, with cautious resolve, Zelensky spoke again. We need more than promises now. Without additional support, our chances diminish. If aid stops, Russia will see us as defeated. His voice trembled slightly, filled with both hope and fear, hoping his words would resonate, fearing they would not. Trump's eyebrows lifted slightly. His face showed no emotion, yet his eyes revealed a complex web of thoughts. You mentioned math, he said softly, leaning in. You believe in numbers, right? Well, the numbers tell us the truth. Promises are empty if results don't follow. Are you sure your support is enough to turn the tide? Or are you just counting on hope? Zelensky hesitated but pressed on. Without concrete actions, the fight is lost. We're doing everything we can. But I need your support, I need proof that our efforts aren't in vain. The tension in the room thickened, each word hanging in air like a fragile glass waiting to shatter. The conversation shifted again, another line of interrogation, another challenge. Trump, with a calm yet intense stare, asked quietly, Are you certain Russia's answer will be the same every time? Or could they strike differently next? Perhaps earlier or more violently? Zelensky, feeling the gravity of the moment, nodded slowly. If Russia acts decisively, I will confront Putin myself. But I'm not naive, I understand they don't trust words anymore. They want to see strength. And so do I. His voice grew firmer, more determined. Trump leaned back, considering the words. You talk about guarantees, he mused. But in this game, guarantees are fragile. The real question is, are you prepared for the long haul? Because victory isn't promised easily. Sometimes, it's lost in the details, how you respond when the chaos hits hardest. His tone grew colder. The calculations tell me one thing, Russia isn't stopping, and the West's promises might be just words. Are you ready for what really lies ahead? Zelensky swallowed hard, sensing that he was circling the trap. I'm aware, he replied steadily. But I won't stop fighting. We've proven we can withstand much. Without continued aid, we're doomed, and it's not just about land or resources, it's about the survival of our people. His words echoed with weight, the echoes of hope intertwined with fear, the stakes reaching a peak. Trump's gaze grew colder, more piercing. And what if their answer is silence? Or worse, surrender? His voice was a whisper, yet it struck like thunder. The room's atmosphere grew thicker, the unspoken question hanging heavily, could diplomacy truly save them? Or would the next move be the decisive blow? These choices lay silently between them, on the edge of the abyss, with only one clear truth, next, everything could change forever. 5 minutes ago, in the heart of Florida, an unexpected confrontation unfolded. No one predicted the sudden clash between two world leaders, one a former president, the other a national figure caught in a web of accusations. The atmosphere thickened with tension as Donald Trump abruptly shut the door on journalists during a crucial meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. Right before the eyes of everyone, a scandal erupted that could forever shift the political landscape. Imagine the scene, Trump entering the room with a calm, almost detached demeanor. He walks as if the space belongs to him, a quiet confidence that oozes authority. His presence is commanding without a single boastful movement. He moves deliberately, silently asserting control. The walls seem to close in around him, the air heavy with anticipation. The room is devoid of flags or protocol, only stark lighting casting sharp shadows on his face, an expression of unwavering purpose. His eyes are heavy, sharp, probing, as if he's weighing every word and gesture. Then enters Zelensky, faster, tense, wearing a look of fatigue and determination. His face tells a story of nights spent in uncertainty, sunken eyes, lips pressed together, every line betraying the pressure he's under. Sitting across from Trump, he's not just a politician but a symbol of resilience. His gaze challenges, seeking acknowledgement amid the icy atmosphere. The air crackles with unspoken conflict, a clash of visions, one of persistence, the other of dominance. Suddenly, Zelensky breaks the silence, voice sharp, almost defiant. He speaks about interference and threats. About Russia's relentless efforts to destabilize Ukraine. His words are swift, packed with urgency. "We are in a critical situation," he states, voice echoing in the vast quiet. But Trump's expression remains unreadable, a stoic mask hiding what lies beneath. The room suddenly feels like a battlefield. Zelensky's plea for support hangs heavily in the air, desperation and hope intertwined. "We need resources," he proclaims, eyes pleading for validation. His voice gains strength, insisting that Ukraine can win if given enough aid. The tension spikes. What will Trump's next move be? Silence deepens, an ominous pause filled with the weight of unspoken consequences. Trump finally responds, voice calm but charged with underlying power. He counters, emphasizing the reality of the situation, the economic toll, the international struggles, the limits of aid. "We've already given enough," he says sharply, referencing billions sent and spent. The words hang like a shroud over the room. He raises a critical point: endless money without results is meaningless. The question looms, what is victory truly worth? Is it mere territory, political influence, or something more profound? As the dialogue intensifies, Trump's gaze fixes on Zelensky. The question, how much longer can promises be kept without true change? His words cut deep. The war isn't business, but it's not a quick fix either. The room feels frozen, each side holding their ground. Zelensky tries to pin down their shared goal, but doubts linger. Has the aid been enough? Or is it just a temporary bandage on a wound that keeps bleeding? The clash escalates. Trump's voice grows sterner, asking hard questions. Are you sure you're not just prolonging the inevitable? Are we truly fighting for victory or just delaying defeat? His tone is icy, each word a calculated blow. Zelensky's responses blur under pressure, the cracks beginning to show. The once firm stance now wavering, uncertainty creeping in. Then Trump leans forward, a calculated gesture that commands attention. His eyes lock onto Zelensky's, an unspoken challenge. "Let's talk about her," he whispers, voice void of emotion. "Victory, territories, resources, what do you really seek?" The room becomes a chamber of unspoken truths, fears, and ambitions. Can Ukraine truly win? Or is this a game of illusions, each side playing their part in a larger, dangerous dance? In the thick silence that follows, Trump's final words echo, the numbers tell everything. Repeated promises, no real change. Is this what victory looks like? Every sentence is a punch, every pause a deadly weapon. The question lingers, how much longer can Ukraine rely on foreign aid before the costs outweigh benefits? And what will be left of their sovereignty once the dust settles? This encounter isn't just about politics, it's a crash course in power, trust, and betrayal. The stakes? Higher than ever. The outcome? Perhaps the turning point that reshapes history itself. Will Ukraine finally break free, or will this be another chapter of broken promises? Stay tuned, because what happens next could change everything forever. Earlier, we saw a tense confrontation between two strong-willed leaders. The room was thick with unspoken threats and silent accusations. Now, the story plunges deeper into the heart of their conflict, where trust crumbles and secrets threaten to explode. When trust disappears, control becomes impossible, Trump emphasized. His voice was calm but firm, echoing in the quiet hall. "You fear the word peace," he said. "Because it sounds like defeat to you. But for me, peace isn't chaos, it's a process we manage, emotions we control." Zelensky's arms clenched instinctively, tension radiating from him. Trump looked directly at him, eyes unwavering. "You don't understand. Russia never stops. Today it's one threat, tomorrow, another." His tone was measured, yet the weight behind it was palpable. "I understand more than you think. My decisions aren't driven by fear, they're made with clarity." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Zelensky's expression flickered with frustration. He wanted to scream, to challenge, but he held back. He knew Trump wasn't listening to empty promises, those had no place here. I don't ask you to trust Putin, Zelensky finally broke the silence. I'm begging you to see that no agreement is worth surrendering everything. True capitulation is endless war without end, without purpose. His voice was firm, yet uncertainty flickered in his eyes. The room froze. Trump looked straight at him, unmoved. Guarantees? They're possible, he said slowly. But only if you're willing to accept nonsense and conditions. Zelensky's face darkened. A storm brewed within him: anger, desperation, defiance. He hesitated only a moment before speaking again. What if Russia finally responds to you? Zelensky asked. His voice almost a whisper, yet full of challenge. Then I bet he'll lose. He'll face me without fear, the kind of fear he's never confronted before. A flicker of confidence, maybe hope, sparked in his eyes. But then, Zelensky paused, hesitating. He won't even let himself imagine that peace might be possible, he added quietly. That silence settled again, thick with unspoken danger. This new quiet was different, more tense, more threatening. Zelensky sensed the storm approaching. He understood that pushing farther might unleash chaos. Still, he took another step, daring to speak truths that others avoided. What if I told you about the Budapest Memorandum? What if I raised the stakes even higher? His words sliced through the air sharply, almost like a call to battle. At that moment, Trump's gaze shot up, sharp and commanding. His expression betrayed nothing, yet behind his eyes, a storm was brewing. This was the point where the conflict could spiral out of control, where every word could ignite a final showdown. What secrets lie behind their exchanged words? Could this silence herald peace, or is it a warning of impending chaos? The room holds its breath, waiting for the next move. 5 minutes ago, in the heart of Florida, no one anticipated what was about to unravel. A secret meeting, cloaked in silence, was held behind closed doors. Donald Trump, the former president, had abruptly shut out the press, denying journalists any access. What was so critical that it had to be hidden away? Rumors swirl of dark allegations, accusations of corruption, misconduct, threats that could shake the political world to its core. Billionaires, powerful families, insiders, all of them holding evidence that could turn the tide against Trump and his closest allies. Now, it appears Trump has trapped Zelensky in a corner with no room to maneuver, no way out. What exactly transpired during that tense, silent encounter? Why could this moment become a turning point of history? Stay with me, by the end, you'll be stunned. He entered the room as if it were his own personal domain, calm, commanding, almost reckless in his tranquility. No dramatic gestures, no flashy displays, just measured, deliberate movements. Every step exuded confidence, as if trust and authority required no confirmation. Donald Trump studied the room with an intense focus, like a master strategist analyzing every detail. His navy blue suit seemed to merge with the shadows, almost as if he wore it as a second skin. Meanwhile, the others in the room, nervous, on the edge, stood rigid, their nerves barely concealed beneath a facade of composure. No one dared to speak, to shift position. The atmosphere was unnervingly silent. Even the walls seemed to listen, thick with unspoken tension. No flags, no cameras, no protocol noise, just stark, raw silence. Overhead, a beam of light cut sharply, casting dramatic shadows and heightening the sense of confrontation. Trump sat back slowly, as if daring anyone to break the quiet, unspoken standoff. His eyes, heavy and unblinking, held a quiet dominion, radiating an invisible power, unmistakable yet incomprehensible. Soon after, Zelensky made his entrance. He moved quickly, nerves flickering visibly, as if rushing to beat an invisible deadline. His face bore the weight of sleepless nights, lines etched with fatigue but also fierce determination. His gaze darted with urgency, trying to present strength, yet betraying uncertainty beneath his brave facade. His voice was sharp, almost hurried, as if afraid silence might swallow his words whole. He launched into a desperate warning: Russia's relentless interference, threats hanging over Europe, the urgent need for support. Every word echoed through the chamber, a plea to sway the silent, imposing figure opposite. The tension thickened with each sentence, an attempt to carve space amid Trump's quiet dominance. Trump listened silently, eyes fixed, face unreadable, like a stone wall that refused to yield. His expression was neutral, businesslike, an unbreakable barrier. Then, slowly, he responded, measured, commanding, the voice of authority. His words cut through the silence, clear and cold, dismissive of promises, pleas, and pleas for support. He reassured Zelensky that empty talk would change nothing, only strength wins wars. Money, aid, promises, secondary, meaningless in the face of raw power. His voice was deliberate, sharp as ice. Precise as a scalpel, chiseling the air with each syllable. The room froze breathless, tense, waiting for the next move. Zelensky pressed on, voice growing firmer, claiming Ukraine's resilience. He insisted they could hold, but warned, without constant aid, everything might crumble. We've proven we can endure, he said, fatigue and hope mixing in his tone. But victory depends on ongoing support. His words trembled slightly, an echo of mounting pressure, fears threatening to spill over. Trump looked at him with unwavering calm, eyes steely, unblinking, weighing every word, every truth. No sign of alliance, no silent nod, just pure, piercing focus. Out of nowhere, Trump broke the silence with a question, sharp, startling. Do you believe in words alone? That promises are enough? His words hit like a punch, echoing in the stillness. Zelensky hesitated, then responded, voice trembling yet resolute. In this war, every action counts. We've done our part. We need guarantees, not empty words. The room seemed to tighten around that reply, the air thickening with anticipation. Trump leaned forward, a calculated move, removing all pretense, sharpening the focus. With slow, deliberate movements, he raised his hand, an unspoken command that silence must now be broken. Let's discuss the core, he said softly. No emotions, no images, just facts. What does victory truly mean to you? That question hovered like a weight in the air, heavy, relentless. Zelensky's mind scrambled for answers, feeling the full force of scrutiny. Trump's next words dropped like a hammer. Territories, resources, politics, they're all just numbers. Backdoor deals. That's not victory. Every syllable was a challenge, every promise, a fading shadow, every plan, hollow. The chamber transformed into a battlefield of unspoken threats beneath courteous words. Trump's gaze hardened, and he scrutinized Zelensky, placing reality at the center of the confrontation. Every promise, every plan before was now rendered meaningless. The silent question, are words enough? Or do actions, decisive, undeniable actions, determine victory? What will Zelensky do? Can he break through the silence? Or will Trump's calculated calm be the final blow? One thing is certain, this isn't just a meeting, it's a fierce clash of wills. A single decision here could alter the fate of a nation, reshape history itself. 5 minutes ago in Florida, a moment no one saw coming erupted. A secret meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky was abruptly cut short, shattering the usual calm. The room fell into a tense silence, then Trump slammed the door on the press, exposing a scandal deep enough to shake nations. Accusations of corruption tangled with billionaires' secret deals, swirling like a dark storm on the horizon. Trump's decisive move boxed Zelensky into an impossible corner, sealing his fate with a single, unassailable act. Imagine a scene where Trump enters like a master of control. The room seems to shrink around him, walls closing in, air thick with anticipation. His presence commands attention, calm, confident, unshaken. Clad in a dark blue suit that almost melts into the shadows, he doesn't shout or rush. Every step is deliberate, each movement carefully measured. His face remains stoic, hiding secrets that could alter history itself. No smiles, no gestures, just an intense, piercing gaze that seems to weigh every word before it leaves his lips. Then Zelensky bursts in, rushed, tense, exhausted. His face bears the marks of sleepless nights and heavy burdens. His jacket hangs loosely, symbolizing effort exhausted. His eyes flicker with hope and skepticism blended into one. As he takes a seat, every breath he takes reflects a country desperate for salvation. The air crackles with unspoken questions. Can diplomacy survive such a storm? Will truth finally surface amid this clash of titans? Suddenly, Zelensky speaks. His voice cuts sharply through the silence, filled with urgency. He warns of Russia's renewed interference lurking behind every shadow, threatening to sink everything. The danger isn't just nearby, it's a warning bell tolling across Europe. His words pour out fast, almost trembling, deeper than mere words. They're meddling again, he says, voice rising. Time's running out. If we don't act now, everything could collapse. Trump remains silent, his face unreadable. No grin, no sneer, just a cold, piercing stare that seems to dissect every word. The tension thickens, each moment feels heavier, as if the air itself is pressing down. Silence distills like a dagger, revealing the storm behind his calm exterior. His thoughts are awhirl, calculations, secrets, and unspoken threats. Then Trump responds, calm, precise. We don't need flowery words. We need real resources, he states, voice like steel. The message is clear, no room for doubt. Zelensky's effort to rally support falters under that unwavering stare. Promises don't win wars, he insists, eyes pleading for action. The room's fragile peace teeters on the edge. Each man measures the other's resolve with silent intensity. Trump's fingers drift slowly onto the table, a symbolic challenge, a silent question. Zelensky feels the tension tighten around him. Every nerve clenches. He pushes on, voice trembling yet determined. We've proven we can endure, he declares, but without ongoing support, our chances fade. It's simple math, stop the aid, and we lose. His words hang, heavy with urgency, an appeal cloaked in resolve. Trump's face remains unreadable. He listens, analyzing every syllable, every gesture. The silence thickens, unspoken doubts mounting. Will support become a weapon, or a trap? Then Trump finally speaks, slow and deliberate. Let's talk about the truth, he says, voice low. You claim victory, but what does that really mean? His gaze narrows as he probes deeper. Is it territory? Resources? Political power? Or just another installment to keep your government afloat? Zelensky hesitates. His mind races, how do you answer that? Can promises truly be trusted anymore? The room feels colder, shadows stretching longer, as if every word might ignite chaos. Trump leans forward, subtle but demanding attention. Let's clarify one thing, he continues. Do you believe in words? Or do actions matter most? His tone sharpens, calm yet commanding. If aid stops, your country could collapse. That's what's at stake. Zelensky trembles inside, every second feels like a lifetime. The weight of the question presses down. Silence roars deafeningly. Finally, Trump cuts through, sharply asking, how much longer can this charade last? How many more promises before results become urgent? His gaze hardens, a clear challenge. Biden's approach echoes, prolonged aid, little progress, are they just throwing money into a black hole? Every heartbeat pounds loudly in the thick silence. Zelensky's face tightens, fighting for clarity. Will this brutal truth be enough to shift the game? Or plunge them further into doubt, where victory becomes an illusion? In this moment, everything hangs, trust teeters, alliances unravel. Shadows seem to close in, secrets threatening to topple worlds. The question lingers, how long before this crisis unravels completely? One decisive word, one real action, could tilt the scale. But will the truth break the silence? Or will darkness swallow the last flicker of hope, leaving only echoes of what could have been? 5 minutes ago, in a surprising twist in Florida, no one anticipated what was about to unfold. Donald Trump abruptly shut the door on journalists during a critical meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. In the midst of intense conversation, he uncovered a corruption scandal threatening to topple his entire circle. Wealthy families, billionaires, political allies already entangled in accusations found themselves exposed. The confrontation grew fierce, leaving no room for escape or deception. As Trump entered, he carried himself like the space belonged wholly to him. Every movement was deliberate, measured, calm, almost hypnotic. No flashy gestures, no theatricality, just a steady, confident stride. His dark blue suit fit him perfectly, his posture radiated control. His face remained mostly unreadable, calm, almost detached, yet his penetrating eyes seemed to weigh every word, every silence like a judge. It was as if he had already made the decision and nothing could shake him. Soon, Zelensky arrived, slightly hurried, visibly fatigued. His expensive jacket couldn't hide the exhaustion behind his eyes. He sat opposite Trump, shoulders slumped, eyes flickering, hope battling challenge, confidence fighting doubt. Every subtle shift betrayed his subconscious attempt to gauge his opponent's next move. The room was thick with tension, the low hum of air conditioning, the faint rustle of papers, like a battlefield where words could serve as weapons or shields. Then Zelensky broke the ice, voice sharp, purposeful. He outlined Ukraine's dire situation: Russia meddles again, risking national security. Threatening not just Ukraine but all of Europe. He spoke rapidly, almost breathlessly, fearing hesitation would weaken his plea. Urgently, he demanded concrete support funds, military aid, strategic backing, knowing full well that without it, victory would remain out of reach, slipping away like grains of sand. Trump listened silently, his face an unmoving mask. He dismissed flowery promises and vague strategies, insisting only on facts, resources, money, tangible support. His tone was calm but carried an unspoken message: survival depends on action, not words. He leaned back, eyes fixed on Zelensky, waiting for acceptance of a brutal reality. Every second stretched longer, an unspoken question hung in the air: is this a breakthrough or a dead end? Zelensky responded, voice trembling slightly with a mix of urgency and frustration. He pressed harder: without financial aid, Ukraine's resilience will collapse. It's not about desire, it's about arithmetic. If Western partners withdraw, Russia will declare victory. Is he seeking reassurance? Or urgently pleading for a sign that this nightmare isn't inevitable? The room's atmosphere grew oppressive, thick enough to crush a soul. Finally, Trump broke the silence, calm, deliberate, tinged with mockery. He looked directly at Zelensky, expression inscrutable. You say the word math, but do you really believe it? He asked softly, yet his words carried a heavy weight. Then, in a slow, deliberate gesture, he shifted his chair and casually placed his foot on the table, a move designed to assert dominance. It was a challenge: accept the harsh truth or face the consequences. Words alone aren't enough. The mood darkened as Trump's tone hardened. He dismissed promises, brushed aside illusions. The war isn't just business, it's survival. No quick fixes, no decisive victories. Oil and water won't mix with this ongoing conflict. Zelensky's hope for victory flickered under fatigue and reality's weight. Trump's blunt words pierced the silence: no matter how much aid flows, victory remains an illusion, an unfulfilled promise built on fragments of hope. Zelensky's voice flared with determination, trying to anchor himself amid the storm. He insisted Ukraine could endure, that they were holding on, yet beneath his words, the unspoken dread grew heavy. Without further support, everything was at risk. Deep down, he understood the outcome depended on a fragile thread stretched across a yawning abyss. Trump waited, eyes locked onto Zelensky, sensing cracks forming. Then, with a calculated move, Trump leaned forward, eyes cold and assessing. You mentioned support from Russia, he said slowly, almost whispering. And you believe in words alone? Do they mean anything? Or are they just illusions? His words cut through the tension like a blade. Zelensky hesitated, caught between hope and truth. The room felt thick and metallic, charged with unspoken threats and promises. Trump pressed on, voice steady. I've spoken with Putin, he revealed coldly. He's never been straightforward, never trusted words. Those words sank deep, revealing a brutal truth: confidence in empty promises is fragile. Behind that calm facade, a storm brewed, one that questioned whether anyone's words could truly hold weight when stakes are so high. Amidst the tension, Zelensky faced the raw reality: the line between hope and despair teeters on a razor's edge. Time is running out, an irreversible decision looms just beyond sight. Each word, each glance, feels charged with enormous consequence, every moment tipping the delicate balance of history. 5 minutes ago, an event unfolded in Florida that no one could have predicted. A tense showdown where the world's spotlight was stolen by an intense, unseen confrontation between two powerful leaders. Donald Trump abruptly shut the door to journalists during a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, and what emerged behind that closed door was a scandal that could shake the very foundations of global politics. Imagine the atmosphere, the silence so thick you could hear your heartbeat. Trump entered the room with a calm, almost deliberate grace, as if this space was solely his domain. His steps were measured, devoid of showiness, radiating confidence without a hint of arrogance. His dark blue suit fit snugly, revealing a man who has mastered the art of control. His gaze was steady, penetrating, as if he was weighing every word before it even left his lips. The room was stripped of the usual protocol, no flags, no cameras, just pure confrontation. Meanwhile, Zelensky approached slightly hurried, a tense energy radiating from him. His face bore traces of exhaustion, sunken eyes, tight lips, exhausted from sleepless nights and battle fatigue. He sat rigid, eyes fixed, a mixture of hope and uncertainty clouding his expression. His every movement betrayed his anticipation of what was about to unfold. A heavy silence settled, broken only by the subtle rustling of clothes and the faint hum of air conditioning. The moment was charged with unspoken threats. Then Zelensky finally spoke, his voice sharp, almost aggressive. He outlined the dire situation, emphasizing that Russia once again interfered in their internal affairs. He painted a vivid picture, a relentless threat looming over Europe, a situation so urgent it demanded immediate action. He insisted that they had to act now or face irreversible consequences. Every word felt like a sharp blade, cutting through the quiet. His plea was unambiguous: support, resources, money were the only way to win this relentless war. Trump listened, his face unmoved, unreadable. He sat back with calculated patience. His gaze was like steel, unflinching. He cut straight to the point: we don't need pretty words or vague promises. We need results. His voice was calm but firm, almost cold. His words echoed with hidden threats and unspoken power. Zelensky pressed on, eyes burning with urgency, emphasizing that without financial backing, their chances to hold the line were slim. His voice, rough from exhaustion, carried the weight of a man fighting not just an enemy, but an entire system of indifference. The room's atmosphere thickened. Zelensky's voice grew firmer, demanding recognition of their sacrifices. He emphasized that their resilience had kept Russia at bay for now, but without support, everything could collapse. His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The question lingered: how long could they hold out with no real aid? The tension escalated as Trump's silence stretched, a deliberate pause designed to unsettle. Suddenly, Trump shifted. His tone darkened, no longer the calm facade. He looked directly at Zelensky, eyes narrowing. "Let's talk about where the money is going," he said quietly, almost threatening. The words hung like thunderclaps in the room. A chilling hush settled, no one dared breathe. Zelensky's face remained composed, but subtle signs of irritation flickered beneath. He knew this was a turning point. Trump's voice started to cut deeper, questioning the very core of their strategy. "What is this money really for?" he demanded. "Do you understand what's at stake? Do you even know where it's going?" His words were sharp, exact, like the click of a weapon being cocked. Each syllable was a reminder: the game had changed, and the stakes had never been higher. Zelensky, feeling the weight of Trump's piercing gaze, hesitated briefly. A flicker of doubt crossed his face, but he steadied himself. He insisted they could endure, emphasizing their resilience with a tired but determined voice. But Trump was relentless. "You're saying you're holding on, but are you actually winning?" The question echoed in the room, hanging in the balance. The walls seemed to breathe, filled with the tension of unspoken truths. A pause. Then Trump's tone shifted even further, colder now. He leaned forward, resting his chin on his fist, studying Zelensky intently. The room was suddenly silent, every sound amplified: the faint tick of a clock, the rustle of paper. "Let's be honest," Trump said quietly. "Is this war a business? Or is it something else?" His voice was calm but carrying a deadly weight. For a moment, the entire room felt suspended, every daring to look away, but no one dared to miss what came next. Zelensky looked at Trump, desperation flickering. He tried to speak, to defend, but Trump interrupted him sharply. Money alone won't win this war. You've been paid billions, yet the victory remains elusive. The words cut deep truths wrapped in icy restraint. Real victory requires more than just funds, actions, strategy, and understanding the true cost. His tone was laced with disappointment, like a teacher scolding a student who failed to grasp the lesson. The conversation's tide turned sharply. Zelensky sensed that they were dangerously close to revealing uncomfortable truths that support, no matter how generous, might not be enough. He pressed harder, insisting that they were holding the line, yet doubts flickered in his mind. The reality was brutal. The aid they relied on was merely holding the surface, hiding the cracks beneath. Trump's eyes narrowed momentarily. His voice was laced with finality. You're talking about victory, he said, but what does that mean to you? Territory? Resources? Political success? His words drilled into the core of their struggle. Or is it just another installment, another loan, to stretch through the next half year? He paused, weighing his next words carefully. Zelensky hesitated, confusion and frustration battling in his mind. He had expected support, financial hope, but now faced a truth more bitter than he imagined. Trump's question broke through the surface of their discourse. You believed that words alone could move mountains. But now, your system is cracking. Can you really rely on promises that just keep repeating without results? The air thickened further. Every whispered word, every heartbeat was a reminder. This was not simply strategy, it was a fight for survival. Trump's gaze deepened, piercing. As he delivered his final challenge, are you truly prepared to face what's coming? Because the only thing certain right now is uncertainty. And that's a dangerous place to be when war demands everything. The room teetered on the brink of collapse, secrets hanging in the air like visible smoke. The stakes had never been higher, and the ultimate game of power was unfolding. No one knew who would blink first. Putin continues to push forward, his ambition stretching beyond the Baltic region into Eastern Europe. Is this the moment Ukraine fears most? Zelensky pauses, knowing that words now carry the weight of war's threshold. He allows the silence to deepen, letting the threat hang heavy in the air. Is this a warning, or a warning shot? The room seems to hold its breath, anticipation thick as fog. Suddenly, the tension thickens, a quiet storm brewing. Everyone senses it's about to explode. Then, Zelensky breaks the silence, his voice sharp yet measured. We face a risk of collapse, not just fear, he says. We've seen how fragile this situation is. His words cut through the stillness, echoing the reality that uncertainty is the true enemy. The question is, how much of this risk is real? In the face, Donald Trump remains impassive, his eyes revealing a different story. His expression is almost invisible, yet within his gaze lies a profound intensity. Many times, he's heard the same arguments, yet something about his look hints at an inner calculation. After a brief pause, he responds calmly, you speak of facts, but this is about fear. The collapse isn't inevitable. Zelensky, feeling the weight of the moment, crosses his arms, waiting to see if Trump's confidence is genuine or a strategic mask. Trump's mind drifts to the ambitions of latent empires. Many still dream of a Soviet revival, borders restored, tanks rolling through Vilnius and Riga, he says quietly. The room hangs on his words, a pause filled with unspoken possibilities. But then, he adds, you're forgetting one thing. The world has changed long ago. These old notions no longer hold. Zelensky looks skeptical, arms still folded. Can the imperial mindset adapt to the modern age? Trump chuckles softly. The empire's decay isn't due to lack of ambition, he says. It's because the past is slipping away. Real strength today lies in strategic cooperation, not in freezing borders. His words linger, they seem to echo through the room as if hinting at a coming shift. Zelensky remains silent, contemplating the deeper meaning of these covert signals. He hesitates, then speaks again, if you don't act now, the borders of your comfort zone will be challenged. His voice carries a hint of warning. Trump turns, his gaze steady and direct. "You're mistaken," he counters smoothly. "Border checks? That only shows weakness. True power is moving beyond such provocations." His calm demeanor conceals a sharpened mind. "I've got everything under control," Trump claims, voice firm. "When I say it's under control, I mean I truly understand the real game, not just what the cameras see." A subtle confidence radiates from him, a man who knows much more than he reveals. "Russia isn't marching toward the Baltic," Trump states quietly. "Not because it's wise, but because it lacks purpose. There's no point in stupid moves." Zelensky laughs quietly, sensing the words are more layered than surface arguments. "The world isn't as predictable as you think," Trump continues. "Reasonable calculations don't always lead to peace. Sometimes, the only thing applying pressure actually makes us weaker." True strength comes when actions speak louder than words. His gaze fixes on Zelensky, as if daring him to challenge this view. The atmosphere is heavy with unspoken truths, the kind that can change the course of history. The question remains, do these strategic moves signal peace, or are they the calm before a much darker storm? The room stays silent, but deep down, everyone knows this is just the beginning. The game of power continues, secrets hidden behind calm faces and clenched fists. The real battle is yet to come.